It's your time. No! Can you do this? He gets another. One more. The DBS under. Where are your shots?
I think dynamite has been a pretty good word to use here, pretty good adjective to describe how this week has been for quite a few teams out there. This is the PUBG Mobile Pro League North America Fall 2023 season. I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, as you guys can let us know who you or what you think were our dynamite moments this week by making sure to tweet or Instagram, whatever you want to do. Use the hashtag PMPLNA so we can check it out, potentially put it up here on the show for you guys to enjoy as well. But speaking of dynamite, I got to talk about my co-host. No, I would say co-host. He's not a host. He's an analyst. He's an ex-pro player. He's a pro player. I don't know if he's an ex or he's a current pro player. He's a coach. He does everything, even male modeling. Uneven joining me here back once again. How you doing, man?
Thank you very much. That was a very good introduction. You about covered it all.
I have no idea what you said because you forgot to unmute yourself in the way that we communicate, but I'm sure the stream loved exactly what you said. In the meantime here, what we can talk about is, man, yesterday, NHyper continued to do NHyper things. PASSIONFRUIT as well, surprising us in how high they've been able to climb the standings here after that first week blunder, I think is a fair term to say.
Yeah, they're pushing second place right now, I think. And, you know, it's easy to get distracted by the NHyper performance and kind of forget about all the other teams that are playing right now. But, you know, they are playing really well, and they're amassing consistent points and very well. You know, Extreme Slayers, they kind of slid under the radar, but as I was like kind of reviewing before today's matches, I was like, realized, you know, they overtook YKG in the overall standings. They're only 70 points behind NHyper in the overall, right? So they're playing very well.
How'd you say that with a straight face? They're only 70 points behind NHyper. Like, come on, man, 70 points is a ton. But I agree, Extreme Slayers definitely did bounce back in yesterday's action. Let's take a look at our overall so you guys get an idea. We're shouting numbers at you, we're shouting placings, just make it so you guys can actually see exactly what we mean. As NHyper have continued on this pace here, decimating, destroying. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to run out of adjectives to describe what they've been doing in this lobby, but 108 elimination points, 192 points total. This team is looking pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so little to say. Like, Extreme, I mean, I guess you just kind of have to point out the placement points, right? I mean, this is just reflective of their superior macro. They're getting into these late games consistently again and again and again. And also, you know, they're closing it out. I mean, evidently, their elimination points are also keeping up. But, you know, honestly, proportionately, probably not as good as their placement points compared to the rest of the lobby, right? That kind of lets you know that the biggest difference that I see, or, you know, reflected in the stats, is that they're closing out games. They're getting there more often than everybody else.
Well, what we do have to say here is I don't think any of these values are going to be correct either, because some of these teams have 15 matches played and some 14, which is impossible. But from the numbers I am seeing, PASSIONFRUIT are currently second at 126, tied with Extreme Slayers. And I don't know whether Wikipedia is going to be wrong necessarily, but I know for sure this has to be wrong on our side.
Yeah.
The PASSIONFRUIT you see at 101. No, they should be at 126. I think this is going to be missing one match in there. So NHyper's at 196, PASSIONFRUIT second at 126, Extreme Slayers is third at 126, 412 Nomads is fourth at 124 points. But to be fair, I mean, 412 Nomads, whether they're in second place or fourth place, they have been, for me, one of the big surprises of this PMPL, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, every time you see a jump like that in performance, over, you know, the amount of games that we've seen, right? Because, you know, when you have small sample sizes, you know, the scores and the placements jump. But we're talking about, you know, 20 matches in the first week compared to so far they've played 15, right? Or 16. Something like that.
16, yeah.
Yeah, in the
4,
second
8,
week.
12, 16 with the final four today, yeah.
With the final four today, right. So we're talking about, you know, that's definitely enough games to establish like normal statistics and like consistent, like actually reflective data, right? Like they are playing significantly better than their first week. And, you know, if they can close out this last day at the same pace that they've been currently doing, they're going to blow their last week to bits. And you know, that shows real improvement.
Well, for 412 Nomads, I think the one thing I do worry about for them, though, and even as we can quickly talk about this, like looking on their prior results this week, like they have 5 fourth place finishes, but out of all 5 of those, the total eliminations they have 7 combined from those 5 fourth place finishes. Like one thing we are massively lacking is just like that fragging power, that elimination power of this team. But their placements, phenomenal. Keep this up. Just kind of work on your elimination games, similar to what we talked to with Speedfire. But to quickly kind of catch you guys up further down the list here, just a couple of big names. We have Execute 8th place at 98, MEZEXIS in 9th place at 91, YKG in 12th place at 80. See Puppeteers in 13th at 77. And going on down here, I mean, we have Skills of Mine currently last place at 45 points in this week. But I mentioned YKG because it's important, considering PMGC is right around the corner. We're going to take a look at our updated rank of our PMGC points here from our spring and, of course, our fall season. And it should be a big difference towards the top. And you can see some of the bottom teams here, but realistically, not even realistically, mathematically, there's no chance that you can see teams like Excuse here get basically, what, 800 points to catch up to the top of the table. So as we, you know, move on a little bit further here towards the top, it's all coming down to NHyper YKG battle.
Yeah, right here. And, you know, like just every time we show this leaderboard to the stream, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and looks more and more daunting from YKG's position. You know, they're lucky that the rest of the lobby is far behind, because otherwise I think in a more competitive region / you know, lobby, they would have been, I mean, we would have seen them way further down, right?
Yeah,
like,
and the thing is, right, is that they're still technically third in our overall. So realistically, no, not even realistically, I'm gonna tell you right now, they could stop playing the rest of this today and the next week, and they'll still qualify through into the finals.
Oh, yeah.
But PMGC, what it's about, right, man? And obviously getting into regionals is gonna be a very important stepping stone for PMGC as well. And I mean, YKG, they need to turn up. They need to step up here at some point. They're falling behind in bonus points. They're gonna fall behind, or they're already falling behind in PMGC points. Who knows where else they're gonna fall behind?
Yep. I mean, this is the NHyper show right now, and it's up to them to try to like do something very dramatic and significant to try to change that. But yeah, as you said, this top 16, they're not concerned about that, but they should be concerned about these points that are important for the PMGC qualification. That's all that matters for them, you know. Yeah, qualifying top 16, that's yeah, it's pretty much a given. There's only a couple teams that, you know, bottom 10 and below that are in contention, and like for them it's going to be a serious, and these games are very important in that aspect. But for YKG, still important, right? We're talking about PMGC points, and that's what it matters. You know, I like this introduction to this system, right? It's meant to seed out over very long periods of time who the most consistent and best NA team is, and I think it's doing a good job of that.
Yeah, and we're obviously going to keep, you know, looking at these two teams in particular. That's why we keep bringing them up almost every single day, because that's the big prize at the end of this event. And we'll actually take a look here at our stats between NHyper and YKG across week 2, just to give you guys a better idea of like how big of a difference we've seen between these two teams, because eliminations alone, NHyper have more total in this week than YKG have total points in this week, and that's unfortunate. I mean, obviously these are averages across, you know, week 2, but considering they played out 16 matches, these numbers add up.
I mean, this is really ridiculous. But you know, it's hard to consume these kinds of statistics, but like a 7.2 average eliminations per game over a 16 game span is huge, right? That's nearly an 8, which, you know, obviously they won't play out this way, but that's an average of almost a 2 KD per player on the team, right? Added 8 divided by 4, that's like insane. And obviously there's different distributions. Some players step up while others, you know, kind of have slower games and weeks, but like still that is an extremely significant number. These guys are picking up a huge amount of eliminations. Obviously they're not lacking anywhere in their placements either. They have a huge survival time. I mean, 5 minutes difference is just I mean, it's not even competitive right now. Not even close.
Yeah, and I mean, just thinking about like how many points you can get in 5 minutes, whether it's eliminations, obviously catching teams rotating, or just surviving in placements. That's so many more consistent points they're getting every single match that YKG aren't able to live up to. But to be fair, you know, the average damage isn't as big of a difference as I expected. I mean, at least within yesterday, we saw YKG finally start getting some eliminations on board, but it felt really dire for such a long time. And eliminations in this point system that we're using is so important, which is why we're going to take a look here at pretty much, I think, our top 5 teams at the moment with their average eliminations per match here in week 2. And it's honestly been crazy. We're even going to look at phase 1 actually here as well. And you can see the improvement. The fact that NHyper only got better, well, I don't know. Because you could obviously look at this and be like, oh, wow, they got better in this week. Well, I don't know whether they got better, but their competition fell off, right? Extreme Slayers, okay, they're averaging about where they are, but YKG has fallen. So they haven't really had a similar, I'm trying to think of the certain term I want to use, but the system that they're currently playing in with the current teams and the way they're performing isn't as high a caliber as it was in week 1, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, when you're at the top like that and there's another team that's kind of competing with you and taking those chicken dinners away from you and being competitive in those fights when you match up, it can have a pretty significant impact on your game, right? And that team last week was YKG. They were there neck and neck, probably putting up a very significant presence in these games, especially if they got into late games together. You know, and that does have a huge impact on your total points. But like this week, they just really don't have that presence consistently in any of these games. They're kind of running away with it, right? And it's reflected here in their average elimination. I mean, there could be, as you said, a little bit of they're improving. They're definitely gaining confidence right now. They must be at an all-time peak, right? Like they're not going to be afraid to do any moves. They're not going to hesitate on their decisions, and that's an advantage of being in this position, right? Being on the top and feeling like, you know, if there's a hard fight we have to take, we're taking it, right? As opposed to when you're lower down and you're in those really, really low places, it's a totally different mindset. And you're like, oh, can we win this? You're hesitating. You're second guessing yourself. That is, you know, that is a factor to think about. But I think, as you said, right, it's probably a drop in the competition more significantly.
Yeah, and the fact is as well, like what I love to see here is that NHyper are taking advantage of this too. They're focused on getting the late stages of the game. They're focusing on like the position, like we saw that like 1-2-1 split we had yesterday. I believe it was on Miramar, where they ended up closing things out. Like they are playing every game like it's their last, and that's to me the sign of a nice CCT, a championship caliber team. But let's take a look at the schedule for you guys today, because maps obviously do change. Our battlegrounds never stay, well, technically they stay in the same order, but they always shift over one to the left. So instead of starting things off on Erangel, we're actually starting things off on Vikendi today, and we'll be ending things off on Erangel here for phase 2.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice little distribution. I like it. Yeah, nothing much to say.
Yeah, you don't have to say much. I mean, we're looking at the same 3 battlegrounds every single day. It's not like we have like Karakin coming in randomly or like Livik or something. But I mean, at least gives you guys an idea of what's going to be coming up. And of course, the way we do this with the groups as well, it makes sure that every team plays the same amount of matches on each battleground. So it's not going to be skewed for one team. Oh, you got Group A. Oh, you're playing more Vikendis. No, that's not how it works. And speaking of Group A, you see YKG going to be in here. And this is where it gets a little bit rough, right? They need to have a good day today. They need to bounce back. And whether or not they're going to do it, is obviously yet to be seen. But I want to see if PASSIONFRUIT's going to keep this pace up, right? Because obviously losing MEZEXIS, you heard him in his interview yesterday, he's the in-game leader of the roster. They have been able to really carry on without him. And Zuko, I mean, one of our top performers yesterday as well, has been able to really rise up to the ranks and make a name for himself.
Yeah, I think, you know, if I was in their shoes right now, I'm definitely preferring this current iteration. There's many reasons why a certain roster can perform better. You know, it's not necessarily a talent matchup or saying Sixless is bad, but sometimes it's how it works with each other, how gameplays mesh up. There's all sorts of factors to calculate in these situations, but they're playing very well. They should keep it up, and I don't think they should look to change any do any rosters movements basically. Yeah.
Well, for a couple other teams out there, in particular, 412 Nomads, and we touched on them before, Ace of Spades as well. Like, for me, these are 2 teams that I'm probably going to be mostly focused on today, just because if they want to be able to contend at a regional level, like you're having teams from Latin America, teams from Brazil playing in this next event, their mechanical skill on average is, I feel like I'm kind of bash on NA here, but I feel like so much higher than the average of NA right now. And if they can't contend in this lobby with getting eliminations, then I do worry if they're ever gonna be able to contend when they have to play on the next level, if they obviously get there.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. You know, it is a fact that these regions are more developed in probably every aspect, but mechanically is definitely the most, you know, when you're watching, the most prolific, like the most obvious one. You do see a major difference, but you know, I don't think that's the end all be all. I think there's definitely strategically ways to move around that and ways to play around that these teams could execute and should, especially if they feel like their mechanics are a little bit on the lower end. But
okay,
you know, that being said, you do, like, there's no getting around it. There are some key elimination that you need to hit, and that, like, if you're gonna miss those shots and you're gonna mess up those team fights, you're not gonna do well, right? You can't be totally zero, right? There's got to be a minimum threshold, but there's definitely some workaround to some little, you know, space, some wiggle room.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll see how much wiggle room some of these teams have today as we're time to kick off our first match of the day. It's going to be over on Vikendis, as we saw. And of course, like always, we'll be brought to you by Hot Jukes and Zute.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling today? It's Sunday. I hope you guys are ready for some PUBG mobile action. I'm Hot Jukes, of course, next to Zute. Jason, thank you for the amazing introduction. Bro, we're starting off in the icy tundra zoo, and we have seen nothing but non-stop action in this map. So I'm excited that we're starting off in Vikendi. What about you?
Yeah, yesterday's Vikendi game was the best Vikendi game I've seen ever. Like, ever. And I'm talking about, like, even from the PMGC and onwards, like, yesterday's Vikendi game was probably the most enjoyment and entertainment that I've ever witnessed. Hopefully we could see something similar.
I cannot disagree with you one bit. It had everything. It had everything. I mean, it's just crazy non-stop action, crazy fights, weird decisions, rotations. It was absolute insanity. And we've seen, like I said, we've seen nothing but crazy Vikendi games. Pretty much all PMPL long here. So I'm hoping now that we're starting off in this map, we're going to see some more of those. And look, off the rip, I'm looking at the top right, and you can already see it looks like we're going to have a nice little hot drop.
Yep, it's between Ace and hard to make out, but I believe these two fought here last time as well, so it's not a unfamiliar hot drop fight for them. Let's see who could take the advantage and ink out the win in this hot drop. And by the way, did you see those stats on the left-hand side?
Yes.
The disparity. And that's a running joke. By the way, guys, we know it's disparity, but Hot Jukes coined a new term called disparity. Man, Kindness was most eliminations 42. Second most was Remix at 26. And then you had that one stat page, top 3 damage dealers in the whole game. All 3 were in Hyper.
Unbelievable. And we saw that disparity between YKG and Hyper and the PMPL leaderboards. And I think it has a lot to do with that big man kindness, dude. This guy has popped off in this tournament. And that, I mean, you said it yesterday. You put the nail in the coffin. You said they're done for. You said that's it. That's it. And Hyper's going to PMGC.
Yeah, I just don't think it's possible. Like, the coffin in the nail? No, the nail in the coffin for me, Jukes, was that Miramar game where YKG finally had a bounce back, right? They did better than usual. They fought all the way up to the end, and guess what? Hyper took the easiest, most casual, nonchalant, no effort needed, 12+ eliminations chicken dinner.
Oh, it was just disgusting. Once they got that circle, it looked too easy.
Yeah.
And we basically called the game in like circle 4 that Hyper was going to win it, which was ridiculous.
And you know what's worse? After that game, right? I'm pretty sure this was correct. YKG had to sit out the last game, and then Hyper took the win on that last game. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, then that did happen 100%. I'm 100% sure about this. That did happen in another game. So either happened twice or it happened once, but I'm pretty sure it happened twice. And so I'm just like, YKG, it's done. They're not going to catch up on those PMGC leaderboard points against Hyper.
I mean, it's crazy because I think Jason even said that they could almost sit out like an entire week and still be okay. That's how insane this is. And YKG was beating them in phase 1. That's the crazy part about all this.
they were above them.
YKG was ahead.
Coming into this
I thought it was going to be a battle back and forth the whole tournament, and then just all it took was just one phase, and then Hyper just go nuts. So it's crazy to watch. Well, I mean, it's also not the fact that just Hyper's going nuts. It's also that YKG underperformed too.
Really badly. Yeah.
Really badly. So it is crazy to watch as we look at this rotation. Even my voice is like, man, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? It hurts to see YKG fall off like this because I think this team has so much potential. You know, in phase 1, they were just dominating everybody, and then we saw the lobby start to adjust. We see some of these mid-pack teams start doing things better. And you know what? Like, one team in particular, I think that has just been pounding on YKG is BOPE.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, BOPE Esports is constantly taking them out and fighting them. And I'll tell you what, the more teams like BOPE keep beating YKG, the more confidence they're going to have, and the more confidence the rest of the lobby is going to have in them. So let's see. Right now, we just talked about BOPE, right? We brought up their name. Let's see how they handle Ace of Spades here as Nightcrocs up in the up close, looking to possibly throw some util in, but he doesn't have any. So he's going to have to just sit there and wait while the rest of the squad is looking to find some angles. You can see those 2 players in the back from Ace. Those are going to be critical points. They're going to have to probably rotate down that hill and try to find an off angle here, because if they just stay back there, there's just no help. There's just no help to their team right now.
Yeah, it's a game of information right now. We can see they can rotate, push up further, right?
But what is ILI even doing? Like, I don't understand. Like, his team has to know that they're in the other building next to him. So it's really interesting to see this rotation. Well, the fight started. Here we go. DBS action off the rip, but Supra said, I got this G36C. And a 1v2 situation. And now Ace of Spades is getting pieced up little by little. So BOPE doing a great job of initiating this fight.
BOPE really stepping it up. Oh, that nade's going to be good. You never go for a revive at the corner of a building. What? He must be on the inside. I don't know how that nade didn't. Maybe just felt like in short, but Supra, yeah, he knows. He knows they're right there. Ace of Spades get the reset back to 3, but they're still at a huge disadvantage. One of BOPE is knocked right now, Ophelia, and I don't know if someone's able to go for the revive as of right now, but look at Supra. This is what I mean by putting on pressure. He's not pushing them by himself. He's just keeping them at bay, making noise, taking shots. That's what you need to do when one of your teammates is getting revived. You can't be too passive, or else Ace of Spades is going to smell something fishy. So good job from Supra right there.
Yeah, great job from Supra to apply that pressure, and the nice little combination right there from, I believe it was Nightcrocs and Supra to get that nice knock elimination. And that's 2 points already. Here comes the blue zone, but that's going to be no sweat. They can definitely eat it here. Leaky Bay staying very quiet. Oh, Supra went the other way and got caught. A little
Oh,
bit
hold
of
on, Nycrox. He went off by himself. Now it's a 1v2.
No way.
Ooh.
Yeah, simple mistakes. Simple mistakes like that are what really hurt. You know, BOPE, you know, they do win the fight, but losing 2 players when you really didn't need to, that stinks.
Yeah, I think that's the one huge difference between a top tier team like NHyper and BOPE when it comes to those 4v4 close range, right? Both teams play it very well in the beginning. You could see they're not super pressured. They're doing the right things. They're taking their time. It's always when you get to that 4v2 area when you guys have 4 that you start like rushing things. You feel like, oh, we need to do this. We have such a huge number. They feel pressured to go run out and take those fights. And then that's when things get a little bit sloppy. So you still gotta, you know, not necessarily play it slow in that 4v2 because then you're giving away too much of your advantage. But you still gotta, you know, check everything is done correctly and not rush it. And because they rushed it, they lost 2 players. What could have been 4 up with 4 points is now only 2 up with 4 points.
Yeah, it's gotta hurt. Gotta hurt. Hopefully we see BOPE. Well, I'll say this, right? If you're gonna make plays like that and make mistakes like that, it's best to do it in PMPL, right? That's where you go home and you just kind of have a conversation just with the comms, saying, all right, hey, how can we have a talk
Oh, man.
about what to do against Killjoy? Because Killjoy with his DBS coming on in and just punishing super lazy reflex. And we saw some great signs of life from SLR. What was it? About 2 tournament days ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, the last one yesterday, you know, pretty little lackluster, and then starting off today, it's not looking good, yeah.
That's 2 teams shooting at him right there. XEZ, can he make it out? He might, if he could get over the hilltop.
Yeah, but what's the point?
I mean, I think he was better off doing that and then ratting somewhere and getting a point rather than staying. Because they know he's there. He can't rat a knock and an elimination. But if he goes somewhere else, you know, another team might just, you know, run into him and he can at least pick up a point or 2. So you always got to play till the very end. SLR down to 1, BOPE down to 2. Ace of Spades already taken out. Vikendi is just non-stop action, Jukes, from beginning to end. It looks like we're on pace for this one as well.
Yes, we are. All right, so we already have quite a few players already gone in the first couple of minutes. We're only in stage number 2 here. Next zone's about to pop. We got Canadian Eagles, pretty much the only squad that's not in this circle. They're going to be rotating on in through the east side, right past Podvosto. And, you know, we have a nice little northwestern zone here.
Yep.
Okay. Definitely very, very playable. I'd like to see a Garoka finish. I think that would be fun. Seeing some of that just urban combat here in Vikendi.
Yeah.
Oh, but meanwhile, look at this. NHyper getting into it with MEZEXIS.
NHyper stepping up, taking fights right now. Taking a look at the mini-map, they're really spread out. NHyper, they have 1 player forward scouting, and oh, he's back now, it seems like. MEZEXIS, that was a long-range knock. You know NHyper wins those. When's the last time you've seen one of NHyper players get knocked in a long-range engagement and not the other way around? I've honestly, like, it feels like we're just talking them up, but I'm trying to remember time where it's like, oh, one of NHyper's knocked, and we go to them, and it's long range. I don't think so. It's always the other way around almost.
It only happens with like a player like Koi when he's like on a crazy off angle. He gets knocked in those situations. But, you know, the main squad, they don't. But the thing I love about NHyper compared to a lot of other teams, when they do spreads like this, they always put themselves, even Koi, if he's rocking that off angle, he puts himself in a position to where he's not going to get thirsted easily. You know, so if he gets knocked, he's in a safe spot and can get rotated on and then picked up. Or vice versa for the team. You know, when they're grouped together, they always put themselves in very safe positions where they take those shots. And that's super important because you see a lot of players, you know, doing some scouting, trying to find some angles, get knocked and thirsted just from just running out and being in a just ridiculous position.
Yeah, you can see right there, even then, one of the NHyper players left this compound just to scout a little bit. You know, he didn't even go that far, and most teams would feel very uncomfortable doing that, knowing that the MEZEXIS team or another team is right across the way, right? So they're getting as much info as possible, and it's a little bit risky, sure. Like, you don't need to drive, you know, 100 meters, just scout a little bit more, see if the next compound over is open or not. But NHyper, they're so comfortable doing things like that because they just understand how to safely scout. And sure, they mess up from time to time, Jukes. I'm not saying they're perfect, But just seeing that, that they are able to do those things comfortably and not be scared and just, sit tight and keep waiting makes them, a tier above a lot of other teams right now in this lobby.
Absolutely, indeed. I mean, you can just see the difference. The proof is in the pudding, folks. Hopefully we can see that in this upcoming Americas Championship down the road. That's what I'm really looking forward to because, I mean, Jason hinted at it. He talked about, these Brazilian squads. They're just ridiculous. Another level. So hopefully we can finally see an NA team, be able to really show out there and then maybe even make it to the PMGC finals. It's been years since we've had an NA team there. So that's what I'm looking forward to. One of the teams I was hoping, was definitely this one right here. YKG, man. Joey and squad. What is it going to take for them to even try to bust out of that coffin? You said the nail's already in it.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do that, that Kill Bill 1-inch punch, and try to get out of there. But, I mean, they're going to have to go insane. Like, we're talking nonstop action. I mean, one good day, and let's be real, right? One good day, a crazy day where they go all off on all 4 matches, they could cut that lead in half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they could. It's just the problem is I don't see N-Hyper reverting back to choking a bunch of games. It's just their progress and their decisiveness, it just it bleeds through the screen. Like when we watch N-Hyper play, it's like we can see exactly how decisive and meticulous they are now. There is it's not happenstance that they're winning these fights. It's not like they get lucky with a knock or a nade. It's just so front to back clinical out of N-Hyper that if they do devolve a little bit, I just can't see them devolving by much, which means they're going to keep getting points, which means YKG is going to have to play insane times 2 to pass up N-Hyper at that point. You get what I'm saying, Jukes? I just don't see
100%.
N-Hyper messing up as much anymore.
Can't blame you. I can't blame you. I mean, to throw a lead like that, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard. All you got to do is put up some decent points, and you should be solid with that kind of lead. So
yeah, and it works to their play style too. And Hyper's play style is consistent, not just consistent in the form of oh, they're a consistent team, but they don't play crazy aggressive. They don't play full send YOLO middle center rotations. They don't rely on RNG much at all. So it's a consistent play style on top of a consistent team already being consistent, and it's just I don't think it's happening, Jukes. That's why I'm putting that nail in the coffin.
Oof. You hate to see it. You hate to see it, but you know what? Anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. We got to give some hope, but right now it's really hard to have any. Meanwhile, let's look at Wall Street Bets getting mighty close to BULUC CHABTAN. You can see Bad looking to try to get a good nade. I like that smoke right there. Gonna go ahead and cover that angle because you realize he is exposed from that spot.
Yeah.
There's not anybody. There are not any teams up there, but you never know. So
you never know exactly.
You never know. G1 gonna throw a nade. It's gonna go ahead and connect on the miner, and no matter how experienced you are, trying to jump into a window at the first try is not easy.
Just straight through the smoke. Okay.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. And that is gonna be a nice double. So Wall Street Bets taking huge advantage of BULUC CHABTAN. They were just too focused on another team. They were not focused on the one squad, and that split just got punished. I think we saw those smokes were there to try and go out and save them.
Disengage,
but
yeah,
with that off angle from, I think it was Extreme Slayers across, not much they could do.
Also, the second player just DBS through the smoke. It's just, there's nothing you can do about that. Looking up on the northern side, we have BOPE coming in with only 2. Remember, they lost 2 players early on, which they could have not have done. Now they're against the Canadian Eagles. Canadian Eagles with 3. Can BOPE get this done? 2v3? I don't think so. Looks like Canadian Eagles will push the last player, Fuego. It's all down to him.
What can Fuego do? All by his lonesome. He's waiting. He's quarter HP. Baby Tang with the pre-fire. Beautifully done.
Not much you could do there. Besides, I don't know. Unless he had a DBS. But yeah, that's pretty much it for BOPE. Could have been a whole different story, just the execution at the very end against Ace. They clean that up. They have 4 there. They could win that fight. They could go in next zone. Who knows what could have happened if they didn't have that small mistake at the beginning of the game.
Ugh, so rough. So rough. One bad decision is really all it takes. All it takes. And meanwhile, let's see as Butterfly Effect gets some shots on the skills combined. Next zone is going to be towards Goroka. Okay. You know, it is going to be in that open land area, so that's going to make things interesting. The question on the board is, which team you think is going to win the match? With a circle like this, there's still some monster squads on the outer edge. I don't know. I like the way Wall Street Bets played that. So I think looking at their position and the fact that they got some nice eliminations, why don't I go with them? I'll give them a shot this time. What about you?
I'd have to go with Extreme Slayers. They're in a decent spot in the zone with 4 up. I mean, a lot of teams still have 4 up and they're in the zone. This is a tough prediction for sure. So it could be anyone. YKG getting involved right now. You see in the elimination feed, I think they just broke their way into the zone, taking out 4-1-2 Nomads. That puts them in the northern side of the zone, so that's a nice area for them to work in as well.
Let's see what Skyline's gonna do here. You can see him just hard scoping. Dude ain't moving a muscle right now. All right, now trying to find another angle. Meanwhile, YKG, ooh, right at the edge of the circle. They're going to have to full send it pretty much all in one vehicle. Nope, they decide to go with just 2 and risk it there as they go for the pickup. I thought that they could put him in the vehicle knocked, right? Interesting.
Yeah, I believe so. We saw it happen in the Miramar game.
I wonder what the rules are. I got to test that out to see if, it's possible if you have a full car. Could you still put somebody in,
Maybe. We'll see. Oh, Baby Tang getting that Wait, wasn't this the player that was like way earlier ago? No, that was a different team. That was SLR. SLR, I think, is...
Yeah, it was SLR.
They're gone. Okay. I was just going to say, imagine that was SLR there getting that kind of circle. But here we go. Butterfly Effect. Throwing some nades into Excuse, getting Matt with that opening, and yeah, like Chronix is nowhere close. He's like, I'm not going up there with those grenades raining in. And Hyper making some moves now onto MEZEXIS. They got a knock here earlier, so they are not afraid to take these fights in, man. And Hyper just pushing in. All 4 players still up. And look, they have 1 player not even involved in the fight. That's how confident they are in the rest of the team.
Well, let's see how they're going to handle this. They're at the edge of the circle that's pushing them. I mean, you can go against some of the best teams in the world, but going against Papa Blue a lot of times does not work out. Everybody picking a different squad here. Look at Crow with a beautiful nade on the Rin.
Oh, double knock.
Oh, and a double knock. Yeah, that's kindness down. It's just Koi. GK First just rocket launching himself down as Skyline just gets busted up. Crow, he has this nade locked and loaded. If he cooks it perfectly, it should be good. Oh, just a little bit too far.
Yeah, bounced a little way too far. And
oh my gosh, Koi just saying, you know what? Did you gonna pull a pin on me? See you later. So, wow, and they're gonna get the reses off.
Yeah, killer
perfectly
mentality.
On time. That's crazy.
Killer mentality right there. And I say that because there were only 2 up from Hyper, and one of them was getting the res. Usually, you hold for the res. You don't push 1v1. But killer mentality, he hears the nade pin. He's fully confident. He jumps down, takes the 1, and gets it done quickly.
Meanwhile, Puppeteer is trying to make the push on the 4-1-2. Here goes Dong. He should have this. The man is really hurt. Blows up the shot. Yeah, Dora waits this. Oh, but from the back, Killjoy catches him. And we see Lujan go down. Worst case scenario there for Puppeteers.
Yeah, you can't do too many flanks in the late game because there's always some angle across the way that you have to be wary of. They thought it was isolated, but it was not, and they lose 2 players, and they couldn't deal with the last member of 4-1-2. That's one of those mistakes where you remember for the rest of like the entire time you're playing. It's like, okay, we are not making a mistake like that again, because it's an easy fix. Sometimes you just gotta make the mistake to learn from it, though.
Oh yeah, me versus RRQ on Everest. Never forget. Never forget this simple mistakes. Meanwhile, we're going to watch, the Nomads get eliminated. Meanwhile, and Hyper starting to turn things up here on the edge. They're going to have to push in through a lot of teams, but if there's any team that has the brutality, the skills to do it, it's them. Here come the smokes, and here comes the utility. Speedfire, this is exactly what they should be doing. Staring nothing but outside those windows. Instead, going into the building, looking at nothing.
Look at this nade. Oh, I think it bounced. Fell just a little bit too short. Yeah, Speedfire is one of those teams that have been struggling heavily when it comes to playing defensively correctly. They go too passive. We'll see how they do this one because they get the zone.
Oh my gosh,
Look at Koi. Just,
oh my goodness.
I have
in the
more
wide open.
I have more than 50 bullets in here, and I'm just going to keep shooting. Putting Jason under so much duress,
Nice
but
shot.
Jason with the DP, and that's the full white butterfly effect coming in. Exotico and Jason together, just stomping out in Hyper right there.
That was so huge there from Jason. I mean, at the end of the day, Jason should win that since he had the cover. It's so crazy to see how long it took, though, and how hard it was. It goes to show, even when you don't have cover, when you got that M4, that's all it takes is Jimmy applying that pressure there to bat. Rest of the team is
Push
already...
out!
Yeah,
Push
they got
out!
it. It's 3v1. Okay, finally, they take him out.
Oh, that's so frustrating to see. He got too open. He had the right idea. We're not just going to sit in our buildings, let a team crash on and work nades into us. I'm going to time the push out, catch 2 players, 1 left. The rest of the team is all sitting in the building still. He should have been saved. SF could still get it done with 3, though, as YKG now have to make their insane push across the road in the open. It's not looking good for YKG. Only 2 up. Drago holding the close range.
Nice
Good nade.
knock. 24K's got another one for Baby Tang here. He throws it right across for 3.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, a little bit too far. And Baby Tang's gonna throw one in as revenge. 24K better watch out. Get little taps here and there, going back and forth. Meanwhile, yeah, 24K gonna throw all the util he has. So every single piece of util gone just to try and get to this next zone. Gets the thirst and the finish.
The revive does go.
Oh, he's
No, it didn't come
he's coming.
through.
24K.
Chico goes down.
He's up close. He's got the DBS.
Oh,
Pops the
easy.
shots, and down goes Baby Tang. Finally, seeing some signs of life here from YKG when they need it the most. I mean, we said the nail was in the coffin already, but if you're going to try and pull off a miracle and get out of it, you got to be able to put up some big points whenever N-Hyper goes down. But N-Hyper, I think, ended with 10 points already. So that is crazy. Even though they went out early, I'll put that in air quotes, right? They still put up massive points on the board.
That's what I was saying. I don't see N-Hyper slowing down too much. Even if they mess up, it's not going to be too big of a downturn for them. But we'll see how YKG ends up doing the rest of this match, right? They get a beautiful circle towards them. So I'm not going to say this chicken dinner is theirs because this isn't technically like an easy win by any means, but they need this win. They desperately need this win and more after that if we're still talking about the whole PMGC point contention I'm going to say theory going on now because for me, it's said and done.
Yeah, you know, it's said and done. At the end of the day, it's still possible with how many games are playable, right? Until it becomes fully impossible, then I'm not going to stop talking about it, you know?
Yeah,
but
fair.
you know what? I'll tell you what. Fully impossible is coming very close. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is coming very close. Only a couple more days of lackluster performances, and it's done. Actually, I would even say even this day of a lackluster performance could put that nail in the coffin. So, YKG, you got to take advantage here. They have 6 eliminations so far. I think if they go out right now, they're barely going to close the gap by like a couple of points. That's a nice knock, though. This duo of YKG putting in so much work. And where's Speedfire? Where are you?
They're taking their time. They're wrapping up over the top,
Oh
and
my
24K
goodness.
catches Clown. At 24K in a great position. They knew another team was going to wrap over the top, and he catches them. Speedfire should have gone together
It's
as a
4v2v2.
team. Speedfire only had 3, but that's because they lost one when they shouldn't
That's
have.
right.
Right?
Oh,
it
what a
it
shot
should be
from
a
Fierce.
4v2, but it's not. 2v2 now, Jukes.
Unbelievable. Speedfire's passiveness. It hurts my heart to watch. It hurts my heart to watch, especially when this play should be so obvious. I've talked about like those championship teams. They're able to flip passive and aggressive like a light switch, you know, at the blink of an eye, so fast. And Speedfire, even when it seems obvious, right, have trouble flipping that full-on aggression switch. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to put some points on the board here. Good for them. But, you know, as far as looking at them in totality, it's a little bit hard to watch. Hopefully, you know, eventually, maybe even after this day, this game, maybe they're looking at the VOD and they're hearing this and like, hey, guys, you know what? We got to turn it up. We're losing games or even losing opportunities when we really shouldn't.
Yeah. 2v2 situation. Nades coming in. I don't think YKG have any more.
Against them.
Goes prone in the open.
Oh,
Dodges
over.
some bullets.
It's
2v1 now.
over.
Yeah.
YKG with the big dub right there. You know, they need to put some points on the board. You know, I said, regardless, it's crazy that NHyper, even when they go out and we see YKG with a chicken dinner, we're only going to see, you know, a little bit difference in the points there. You know, but NHyper always soften that blow by putting up solid eliminations. But it's all YKG in this game, right? We talked about that roar. You know, 10 elimination chicken dinner, 20 points on the board, Zute. That's solid.
Yeah, that is solid indeed. And guess what? I actually did predict them to be the winners. So it's not like I'm just completely off the YKG train. I still think they're a
100%.
great
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
I still think they could get massive wins done when it doesn't look like it. But it's just when it comes to, you know, NHyper versus YKG, that's a different story. But good job from YKG. Killjoy doing a lot for the Wall Street Bets team as well. And that was another great Bikini game, in my opinion, Juice.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. I will say this though, and I'm gonna start being a little bit brutal here because you know what? This isn't the start of the tournament anymore, right?
Okay.
These teams have warmed up, right? They're at the stage of the best in North America. If there was another team in Speedfire's position, they're winning that game all day long. If NHyper was in that spot, they're winning that game and taking everybody out. Like nobody's even moving a muscle, right? That game would have been done minutes earlier. So, heck, Speedfire, you're watching this, right? Turn it up, baby. Turn up that fire. I know you got it in you, and hopefully we see it here from them soon, Zoo.
Yeah, just get on the same page as a team. Like, aggressive on the same page, and they clutch that. They win that easy. So, we'll see if Speedfire can get it done, you know, in the upcoming games. But NHyper YKG, the battle continues. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after some quick highlights with the desk.
Well, there's the YKG we were looking for, but let's be honest, like that fantastic finish, they close things out, they get the victory, but man, they got a little bit lucky that Speedfire just kind of sat on their thumbs and didn't push when they should have, and we called them out on this so many times, and even they're being too passive. They're not looking at the kill feed, they're not knowing when the time to push is now, and it cost them the game.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see that same, like, precisely exact same mistake multiple times. To me, it shows kind of a lack of attentiveness. Like, either they VOD reviewed and they totally blanked in the moment and forgot everything they did, or they didn't VOD review at all. And, you know, either way, you don't want to be seeing that exact same mistake twice in a row, especially when it costs them the win, right? You're talking about the last play, the last decision you have to make that makes a difference between from second to first. Yeah, YKG definitely got that handed to them on a platter, but fair play to them. You know, they played really well that whole to get there. They took really nice, you know, they changed from the west side to the east side. They had really nice wraps. They were looking for that quiet side the whole time, which I love doing. I love that strategy, right? They're looking for the isolated things, and they found them, and they got into the late game.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at the match rankings here to get an idea of the points they got, but obviously some other teams out there, because NHyper, they still got 10 points. They still got 8 eliminations in there. So YKG, I mean, that is the way they want to start off this final day in Phase 2. The unfortunate part is NHyper are still keeping up with them. So yes, YKG closed that gap, but only by 10 points.
Yeah, NHyper managing to pick up 8 eliminations with only 2 placements. You know, they went out fairly early, but just like YKG, actually, they took a lot of fights on that edge. The only difference is that they were in that condensed side, and YKG were in that quiet side, playing for that late game. You know, and you know, I think that's the superior strategy. They got the chicken dinner out of it. They found those quiet places, and you know, that's the difference. You can get a whole lot more eliminations if you play in the condensed side, but it's a lot riskier. You're much more likely to go down early.
Yeah, well, speaking of going down early, we saw quite a few teams do so. Super Laser Reflex, unfortunately, BULUC, CHABTAN, Ace Speeds. I mean, basically everyone on this, I guess maybe Extreme Stars and Puppeteers, not quite so, as only got one placement point, but also only one elimination point. And for me, at the start of the day, seeing that bar graph, right, of like phase 1 compared to phase 2 average eliminations per game, kind of surprised the hell out of me, because I really felt like Extreme Stars has fallen off since phase 1. But I guess they're just having like these really like big games and then these like really empty games where they only get like 1 or 0 eliminations. But surprised to see them still maintain like that 5.7 kind of ratio going forward. But either way, let's take a look at YKG's player stats in the last match. We saw Fears back in the roster, so this is Jet not playing this one. And Fears, we talked about, was 7 in week 1. Like we were saying, like he has really improved, probably one of the biggest improvements out of an individual player we've seen since the spring split. But 24K, man, that position behind the rock, all too easy for him.
Yeah, 24K played that late game, that hyper late game, let's say, pretty much perfectly. I definitely liked his position. He was taking that high ground, making sure he has vision on the speed fire push out. Yeah, very well played from him.
And honestly, 24K has also been for me, like, even the spring split, I think one of the first times I actually got to work on a show with him, you know, on a team, and he really impressed me, and he has the potential to do so. I feel like we've seen him be in some like awkward positions before. I know we've seen like Chico, as we were commenting on yesterday, in some like weird angles and not kind of be in a position to potentially regroup if needed. But 24K has definitely been one of like the anchor points, one of the solid players for the team. But we gotta look at their counterparts here. We gotta look at NHyper really quickly from the last match as well to see who was really standing out. And I almost want to guess it's going to be the people we always seem to expect. But NHyper, they're continuing along here. They took, was it the south side of those zones, and they ran into so many different teams. Still came out with 8 eliminations. Like that's not easy to do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to do in those games where you're not going to win, right? Rack up as many elimination points as possible. If you're not going to get the chicken dinner, you know, end with a bang. And they hit that 10-point minimum, or that 10-point, you know, average that we want to see. So when you're not going to win, if you hit that 10 points, perfect game. You know, this wasn't the one for them. It was a very hard rotation, very hard circle, but they still hit that 10 points per game average. Perfect.
Yeah. And I do wonder if YKG didn't lose. I think it was 2 players. It was Chico and Joey to Canadian Eagles on the the northeast side. How many more eliminations they potentially could have picked up, but it doesn't matter because for them, they got 3 matches left in this phase, all coming up back to back to back. They need to replicate this performance over the next 3 matches to kind of build my confidence back up in them to see if they can, you know, kind of close that gap against NHyper, have that chance for PMGC going into phase 3 and of course the finals. But we'll find out here because it's time to head into our second match of the day over on Erangel with Hot Jukes and Zute once again.
Thank you so much, Jason and Uneven, with that phenomenal breakdown of the last game, as we now are headed into Erangel. Here we go. It's week 2, match 2, day 5. And we got a playing path going north to south right here on the east side. A little east heavy. So I don't think we've seen this playing path in a minute, at least coming from this direction. So yeah, that's fun. We're going to see some YKG dip early. Stalbert?
That's new. I mean, they loot Primorsk, so obviously they don't want to drop late and then have to drive all the way over. So it goes into plan with however they want to play these zones, right? They're always on the edge regardless, right? The edge and fight their way in. So now they're going to come in from the northeastern side. So I'm not too surprised by that. What I am looking at is maybe there might be that hot drop in Roz. Like we saw it, you know, stop yesterday. Might happen again today. Doesn't look like it. I think every team's going to be able to get to where they want to without too much contention. We might see some drops for vehicles that get contested, but that might be about it.
And we'll see where the zone's going to go, though, right? What kind of circle we going to have here? Because that'll definitely mix things up a little bit. All right. We're headed all the way over to the west side. These are always interesting when you have a playing path completely different from where the circle is.
Yeah.
It leaves that entire west side of the map completely open. You know that there's nobody there, right? So any team can go find some vehicles, head on over to George, you know, Zarky, you know, the coast, even Prim, and you know it's going to be free and it's going to be a good spot. So I wonder which team's going to have that heads up to just say, you know what? We don't need to loot where we're at, guys. Like, let's all hop in a vehicle, head over to South George, loot up, and we're in a good central position for the next zone.
Yeah, one team that already stands out in my mind that's going to take advantage of this is NHyper, because I know they have some really nice splits that they love to do just south of Hospital, right? With the radio tower, with a few select compounds in play. I won't be too surprised if we see like a 2-2 split, or maybe even like a 1-1-2 split out of NHyper early on with the circle like that. So we keep an eye out for that. Skills of Mine here. Might be able to catch 2 players. Oh, wait for him to get on the buggy. Oh, no, he's not going to wait. And that's going to cost you. That is going to cost you.
Ooh. Free point just stuck out. Wasted. Yeah, just giving up his position. So they know where he is. I wonder if the Nomads are going to start get the inkling that this guy is just all by himself. I'm pretty sure they had to have seen the parachute, right? So if they realize that it's just him solo, they're going to push him.
He's not running away either.
Yeah, they're going to push him for sure. 2v1.
He should have ran away immediately. Yeah, okay, now he's running away. I was against a better team. They would have pushed him way faster.
For sure. They would have already been there.
And
they're leaving him.
Yeah, they're okay. Well, I mean, it's a nice circle.
Yeah,
it's a nice circle.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a really good circle to get, priority positioning over whichever spot you favor. So it could have gone either way, but
don't take the risk.
I think the big mistake though was definitely wasted taking shots. He should have just waited for him to pop into the buggy.
For sure.
And then fire the shots.
Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue for sure. And sometimes it pays off. Sometimes we see too much patience, like we saw, in the last game with Speedfire. So it's you just got to know that timing perfectly, and that's what I love about like competitive PUBG Mobile so much, Zute, is that I cannot express just how competitive it truly is. We're talking about making decisions within 1 second, literally 1 second.
Less
you wait one. Less than a second. Like if you go,
sometimes Jukes, you don't even have time to make the decision. It's a feel that instantly.
Yes,
all
you got to pre-move. You got to pre-move before the decision's even like the right one.
Like you don't. It doesn't even go across your brain to move here. You just are already doing it. And it sounds like we're just talking a load of whatever, but
we're not.
Seriously, like
really
it's
not.
There are times where the best synergized teams, like the IGL, doesn't even make the call and the team's already doing it, and then by the time he could say the words, the team's already on it. So it's definitely a feel thing, and that just comes with in-game time experience. You can't teach that. Like you could do as many VOD reviews as possible. Tell whoever you're trying to coach or whatever, like in this situation you gotta do this, you gotta know this, you gotta do this because this is that, blah 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 blah. But you can't replicate it. You have to just keep playing, and it's a feel thing. And eventually, some players will get it, some teams will get it, and some, unfortunately, they'll never be able to attain it.
Yeah, just to give you guys an example, sometimes we talk about like hesitation, like, oh, I see this. You could see it, but just watching from this perspective, you can kind of guess what a player or an IGL is thinking. And in a certain situation, like for example, let's say if they get a knock, right? And the distance is a little further than that person's comfortable with. If the team that gets the knock has to think, should we push? That's hesitating. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's hesitating. That 1 second it takes to think, oh, I don't know if we should push. That's it. It's over. Like you shouldn't, because you should have already pushed. So the second you get the knock, the whole team instantly moving. Pushing, recognizing the situation, recognizing the angles. One of the players have already thrown a smoke in that direction to help cover their angles or spots. Because, depending on the distance, if you do get that knock, you realize if another player is near them, that they have, only a few seconds to go ahead and get that res off. So if you're not, it takes maybe 4 seconds to walk across to go and get towards them. So if you're not instantly pushing, they're going to get rezzed, they're going to be reset, and you're going to have a hard time, as opposed to just if you would have just moved instantly.
Yeah. We saw a second ago NHyper doing that rotation that I was calling out. I'm curious. Oh, hello. You don't see that every day. Is that what? Tail grind plus 500 points every second?
Wow, look at that.
Plus 50, plus 50, plus 50.
Plus 50, plus 50. That's right. Oh, he's balancing it, right? Up and down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here's that in hyper rotation I'm talking about. 2-on-1. Did I call it correctly?
You
I
did.
see
You
two.
called it. You knew the hospital split. Yep.
I
And
see.
this is exactly
I see the
what
one.
we've seen before.
Okay, it's gonna be 3-1. Okay, 2-on-1, maybe a little too
They had it.
ambitious.
They had it, right? They had it. I think they were like, you know what? Let's try something different here. Let's rock a 3-1 with Rain up on top.
Yeah.
See how it goes. Extreme Slayers, right? A top squad that we saw, have some really shining performances. They're one of the teams that decided to go to this South George area. Looks like Execute had the same thing in mind. It looks like Excuse had the same thing in mind. You know what I'm saying? So, it always kind of tickles me a little bit when I say, like, hey, this shit is the best play. And you see so many players just instantly go to the and do exactly that.
Yeah. 4-1-2 on top of the mountains. They got the car unstuck. That's always good to see. Just in time too. PASSIONFRUIT Esports looking to take this spot over. Now PASSIONFRUIT, this is a team that I love watching play right now because they are just playing more and more comfortably. I feel like they're playing almost like unhinged. It's like, pushing this might not be the most optimal play, but dude, we're doing better than ever. Let's just go for it. They look just so comfortable in doing whatever it is now that they're doing. Even if it messes up, you can see the team is on the same page.
And that's what I love to see, as anybody who's ever played as an IGL, that's what you want to see is, a team committing to a decision, whether it's the right one or not, not seeing, okay, all right. Yeah, nice little central circle here. See a team execute it regardless because if the whole team commits to the play, then if it doesn't work, you could blame the IGL, You could talk to your IGL and be like, hey, what should we have done? What calls should you have made differently? How can we make this different? But if you don't commit to the play and you run off or you do something different with the IGL just said, then the play's ruined regardless. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like to see here. And I do like to see teams, maybe they saw the VOD where Uneven said that players undervalued that high ground because now we're seeing a lot of teams take up that Everest position.
Yeah, we see two already, PASSIONFRUIT, and it was 4-1-2. We might see a third team come up the other side. In Hyper, I know they love the compound right underneath the west side of Mount Everest, and I think that's a great spot because you can push up Mount Everest from that position later on, and you have the hard cover, so you don't even have to worry about controlling your backside. So we'll see where this circle continues to shift. It is only circle 2, but this circle seems like it's almost endgame circle with how many strong positions that teams really need to get to, and it's already limited.
Meanwhile, let's see this. Skyline, stuck. Gonna go ahead and get a player of YKG. YKG win the game, 24K with a beautiful knock there. Unfortunately, not fast enough to save his teammate as Chico now hunting down Crown. This is some good, solid elimination points, though, on the side of YKG, but they lose 2 in the process. So, a really, really bad start for them. And this is the curse, I think, of PMPL NA Fall. A team does great one game and cannot replicate it back-to-back.
Unless your name's in Hyper.
Unless your name's in Hyper, and then you're fine.
Yep. Let's see if YKG can try and get something here with only 2. And yeah, I like this. They're staying and fighting. It's one of those situations where you and I say it all the times. You only have 2 up. Why run away? Just try and go for the points now. You never know. And yeah, he does pick up another point here. Make that 3 points. And that is way better than running away, losing those 2 points, and then getting eliminated.
100%. 100%. So, Baton on the rotation, getting pieced up little by little. 24K, man, upset, frustrated, right? That they lost 2 monster players so early, Fears and Joey. But 24K and Chico can get it done. We saw 2 players get it done in the last game. But I will give it an asterisk saying that if there was another team, they would have definitely got taken out. So, you can't always depend on that. And that's the thing about North America that I don't like right now, Zoo, is it can give some teams false confidence. Because you get away with a lot more mistakes here than you do in other regions. That's for sure.
Oh, another big shift. And when I say big, it doesn't really shift anywhere, but it does change up a lot. Now that Mount Everest is a giant looming monster over the heads of so many teams. And Hyper right underneath. Same with Execute. Execute actually playing the compound that I thought in Hyper would take. So I'm really curious to see how that pans out for both of the teams. And we still have 58 players remaining alive. And you and I both know, Jukes, this circle is not big enough for 58 players.
It is not. It is not. So we're going to see probably good quarter of the lobby go out here in the next few seconds. Which players is that going to be? You know, YKG hurt. Losing 2 players early is not going to feel good. You know, Execute losing a player as well. Wall Street Bets taking up this position here. It's not a bad one. It's not my favorite either. I mean, it's good in the fact that you could see pretty much anybody coming. But, you know, when you have to rotate away from it, it can get a little bit dicey. So let's see.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's see how Wall Street Bets decides to hold it. But you know what? Sometimes in a circle like this, you have to take what you can get. You can't always have the best position.
Yeah. Some teams just rotate extremely early on and they just get whatever position they want for the first 3 zones. And other teams, well, it's just different styles of play given whatever circle pops up. Wall Street Bets can still have a huge game. A lot of these teams could still have a huge game. It's definitely favoring certain teams in certain positions, of course. But we'll see. We'll see. Still 58 up. I'm looking at the mini-map feed right now, Jukes. I'm just like, dang, these guys are really packing it in close. The next circle, if it goes on Mount Everest, if it goes away from Mount Everest, wherever it goes, there's going to be a lot of fighting to be had.
Oh, yes, there is. There's going to be non-stop action. So let's see here. Oh, you know, I was talking about this position as not being the best. They allowed BULUC CHABTAN to get close. You know, I'm surprised Killjoy's just not blowing up that vehicle there. That would have been the play. But instead, taking his time. And we're going to see how it all works out. It's just Alex. He needs to hit this util. That nade looks good. Oh, and it does get him.
The back-to-back
one more.
nade.
I'm surprised we're not hearing a third party come out. The bounce is open. Ji-Woon. Oh,
Wow.
my goodness. Down to 1 HP is able to get that revenge nade. And that is 4 eliminations and looking to be a good solid reset from Wall Street Bets. But there are some teams nearby, and it looks like we might see a crash. A lot of hesitation here coming by.
Yeah, I mean, YKG down to 2. They don't have the full info. There was only 1 up from Wall Street Bets. I mean, that player almost hit 3 nades in a row, which would have been huge. 24K forced to deal with things on his own. They're down to 2 man. He gets the knock, but the trade is there. Or not even the trade. The play zone catches 24K, and the new zone is already popping up, and Chico's got to go.
Ooh, Chico, you got to get moving, buddy. And let's see as Chico is on that big move. Rotating on over to 24K, it looks like. Maybe even trying to get a hero save. We'll see what he opts to do here. No, Chico does catch wasted. He does catch wasted in the feed. So, really interesting. I'd love to see how that all turned out. But we are going to be taking a look at N-Hyper here and making some shots here on the edge.
N-Hyper defending this compound. This compound's going to be a hot zone. And I think N-Hyper's comfortable with splitting up on this compound defense just because there's so many players still left alive. They know if one team, one team can't comfortably crash them because there's going to be a third party. So all they need to do is stall for a second if one compound gets full crashed. And they should be able to reassess the situation from there on. Here on the eastern side where the zone is in, Wall Street Bets now making play onto Skills of Mine. Skills of Mine on the defense.
Though.
Good defense out of Skills of Mine. They only had 2 players, and they managed to get the 2 of Wall Street Bets.
Yeah, I'll say that wasn't bad. That wasn't good defense as much as it was bad offense. You know, Wall Street Bets had the 4. They committed only 2. And I think in certain situations, you got to send everybody. You know, you got to risk it. Yeah, you may go out early, but that's the name of the game, right? When you want to go ahead and take these positions, the top teams, they understand it. They say, hey, it's either all or nothing. And with a push like that, now you just crippled yourself, right? Like, why even do it? So, I don't know. It's plays like that that definitely make me question things.
MEZEXIS, Baton still alive. You see right there, snaking the grass. Here's the defense out of N-Hyper. Yeah, they don't miss. I think they shot out 2 players of Ace trying to make a pull up. 2 of them do finally make it, and they're just cornered in the backside. N-Hyper, they gotta be careful though. There's another team coming in, and I do believe that is Speedfire pushing up. And I don't think Speedfire is gonna go aggressive though, to be honest with you, Juke. So And Hyper, they're okay here. They just only have to really worry about Ace of Spades. And what a beautiful nade out of Hyper.
Beautiful nade indeed. YKG gets eliminated, so now it's time for Hyper to make a bigger and bigger gap between them and YKG on the PMGC leaderboard. So far, looking real good. They're cleaning up Ace of Spades here on this edge. Now, this is on the edge position. There are a lot of teams nearby. It is Speedfire, though, on the edge. Will they have that heads-up recognition to... Oh, that maul is so good. Ace of Spades eliminated.
Man, and Hyper's util is on point also. We've seen so many openings, just straight util out of Hyper. They don't even have to use their guns, and they're just finding all the openings they ever need.
So many openings, it's ridiculous. Speedfire going to go for this reset. Now they do have, I believe that is Extreme Slayers on the other side of them. Actually, yeah, K19 on this edge. It's one of my favorite positions in this zone. K19 have it. That compound is so strong, especially when it's utilized properly. So they are just going to be holding it for now. The zone does go onto it as well.
That's huge.
So K19 looking really good. And Hyper, Speedfire, all these squads going to have to move on into this next zone.
Yeah, let's see if Hyper can make the push. Oh, Speedfire forced the push in. Too much pressure fire from K19, right? So they had to push somewhere. Speedfire, in my opinion, should have just pushed earlier with 4. You can't just survive out there in the open underneath that ledge. K19 just put way too much damage. And then Hyper, up to 8 eliminations. And they still have 4 up. And they got to make a push onto K19 next, I believe.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a push onto K19. And the question is, which team's going to get the most eliminations? And with how Hyper is playing, even though they have a really tough position in this circle, we saw Koi, right? Even when he's in the wide open, makes it difficult for teams. So I think it'd be ridiculous to not pick anybody else besides them.
Yeah. Who's going to be the kings of Mount Everest? I think 412 and PASSIONFRUIT Esports is going to end up sharing the mountaintop. There's just enough space for both teams to have all 4 up on the top. So we're going to see Execute most likely go down here. Same with Extreme Slayers. See if Casper could find a spot to edge in on and just hide. Lotus Esports, they got 4. They're playing it slow. So see, I wish this is what Wall Street Bet said. You either go in together as 4 or you hang back together as 4, like the way Lotus is, and then you make a decisive choice. Either push as a team or sit back as a team. Both options could work, but it has to be, Jukes, the key word, as a team.
As a squad is definitely what matters the most. You got to make that commitment. You got to be able to do it as a team, like we talked about just a few moments ago. Instantly, no hesitation. So you can see Betty taking some shots on the K19 right now. Looking just to apply some pressure because they realize that, yeah, this is not going to be okay. Like, we're going to have to move into a different position with this next circle, most likely. So looking to turn things up a little bit. They are making a lot of noise, so I would like to see them take shots in places where they definitely know that they're going to go to next. Like taking some shots across the field, you know, maybe if you're trying to steal some eliminations is cool, but in other areas, all you're doing is just making noise and bringing more attention to you.
In Hyper right now, still have yet to make a full-out play. I believe they're trying to look for an opening. Yeah, they're pushing on to K19. Like I said, they took their time. They took as much time as they could to find that opening from long range. K19 smartly didn't give it to them. So now in Hyper, forced to play the close range. But look at the util. Oh, no, actually, Jera finds one of K19.
Wow.
Okay, making it easier for Hyper to take this fight.
Hyper, just the kings of capitalization. If you go and you give these guys your hand, they're going to take your whole arm. And you can see Rin trying to get a little bit of a first aid off. Right now, he's buying some time. They have such a good position on this ridge line. Their biggest concern was even getting here, right? Just even getting to this ridge line. And they were able to do so relatively for free. You could see HH24 on this off angle. He's got his eyes on Koi. When blue zone is starting to close. Oh, why would you move? When you know blue zone's closing? That is interesting.
Look, pay attention to how fast Hyper is going to make this push. As soon as they get the confirmation that
oh
this is
my
HH,
goodness.
HH goes down. They know one of K19's already done for, but they don't know they're fighting K19. As soon as they flush this player out, they're going to know it's a 4v2. Yep, 4v2. Somebody's going to call it out. One of K19 went down just a few moments ago. and now they can play way more aggressive. And the zone is very close by. Nade's already in hand. Rest of the team is here. It's looking like Hyper's not going to lose a single player here.
Rin with such a heads-up play, understanding that, hey, you know what? That all we got to do is just big chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to go ahead and hop into a vehicle, rotate on over, and everything is going to be fine in the world. So it works out for them. You can see K19 holding this position. This is still edging in the circle, so Hyper can just take their time here. Take their time, soak up more points, and they're going to be good to go.
Yeah, this is the 4v2. Keyword taking their time. We saw a 4v2 earlier with, I believe it was BOPE, right, against Ace of Spades on Vikendi. They rushed it real quick, lost 2 players. Taking their time. GK first gets isolated, though. That's really smart from the K19 to make that push, and they'll get one. And Hyper, oh, wow, he slips down the edge just fast enough to stay alive.
Skur making a play. Rin, oh, taking them out, and there goes Hyper. What a beautiful play. K19 Esports eliminated. You can see Koi taking some shots downrange, but they are at the edge of the circle. So they're looking really good right now. Koi zooming in. Bop, 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 bop. Oh, this is just too good. So right now they're just looking to soak up points because they realize if that zone goes north, it's going to be really tough for them. But, you know, they've got so many elimination points. It's a solid game regardless.
Wall Street Bets still making a lot of noise. They lost 2 earlier for a huge mistake they made, but they're making it up right now, up to 6 eliminations. Looking for the 7th onto Skills of Mind. This area is not in zone, so it's going to be a fight to the death. Yeah, he's ready for it. He knows. He's trying to bait out some shots. Runs in. Pre-fire. It's good with the AK. Bad will take down Skills of Mind. Last one up. He's got to move out, and Lotus is just waiting for him with wide open arms.
Oh, Fetty just wait. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it any better. You can see Fetty just waiting for Badger and gets him. So easy point right there. Skills of Mine are eliminated. And Hyper from the southern position just dominating here. Nate forced to push up. Does get to this crate. So there's going to be some good cover for him and some nice level 3 gear. Uh-oh, and Hyper now looking in the eyes of Lotus. This is the right play, right? Clear this side completely. You know, it's a straight-up team fight, and now they're just executing it to perfection. Nice knock there. Nice knock there, but with Lotus all stuck behind this tree. Oh, they're losing players, though. They're losing players.
They lost one.
So they do lose one. And honestly, you're going to take that all day long in a fight like this with the position that you're in. 14 eliminations. That gap closed.
Yep. It's like I said, I don't think YKG is going to be able to pull it off. PASSIONFRUIT on the mountaintop still. 4-on-2 already forced a little bit downhill. PASSIONFRUIT, though, taking huge punishment from Hyper. Because they're so far up there, they're more exposed than the side of 4-1-2. 4-1-2 could use the tree leaves as cover against Hyper. PASSIONFRUIT, they can't. They're way too high up on the mountain, and we know Hyper hits those long-range shots.
And you can see right now as Hyper just looking to roll with this. I mean, it's crazy. They were not in the best position. They were pushing every single team. This just goes to show, right? When Hyper is blessed, they dominate. And even when they don't get necessarily blessed with the circle, they still pop off. Yeah. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. What's PASSIONFRUIT going to do, right? What is PASSIONFRUIT going to do? They had the high ground here, but you could just see the amount of real estate and just like the claws closing in on Hyper. Zuko has to be able to get some knocks from up here.
Yeah, GK first goes down to a lean right there. That's going to be a reset for sure. So unless a 4-1-2, they can make a play here. The huge play would be to sweep down and take out the Hurt Hyper team. Otherwise, they're stuck between 2 teams the whole entire fight. You see Aleem realizing this, but the team synergy is not there to capitalize on this together. But he gets a forward position, which is huge. He cuts off a lot of angles for Hyper to take shots at the rest of his team. So this is a great idea by Aleem. Let's see if Hyper can do things elsewhere and they catch BULUC. So PASSIONFRUIT now down to 3.
See Aleem going for a nade. Meanwhile, you can see Zuko holding off, trying to get just a little bit more energy ready for the rest of the game. And you can see 4-1-2, they have a nice split here. 4-1-2 has a nice split and a lot of control. They just got to make sure to not lose players easily. Yeah, Passion Fruit up top. This is going to wait till the next zone. Next zone is when we'll start to see some more action.
Next circle is about to come out here. Teams at a standstill. And, ooh, that almost doesn't change too much. But that does mean everybody has to move in sight lines of NHyper when they move into this zone. So the amount of cover Passion Fruit and 412 has to work with does get cut down quite significantly.
You can see the calm before the storm. Nice knock there on Zuko. And, you know what, these are the splits that are, you know, they're forced. You're trying to make some plays. You don't want to put yourself in entirely one position. You really can't with the amount of cover that you have here. And Zuko gets eliminated, so Passion Fruit down to 2. The Nomads doing a great job. They take down one of the biggest threats in the lobby, if not the biggest. They take down Kindness, and he is not going to get rezzed here. So, NHyper down to 2, Passion Fruit's down to 2, 412 Nomads looking to take the chicken dinner.
They're controlling this so well. 412. They just gotta be careful. Ren could get a double knock and things could change in a blink of an eye, but Ren gets naded up right there. Great nades out of 412. 412, are they gonna make a play now? They recognize it. They're gonna try and isolate this player.
Run over!
And Ren trying to run away. Aleem takes a lot of damage.
They have intel though.
They do have intel.
They know that it's just Ren. So
they got the revive. And NHyper's back up to 3.
Goodness, how did they get the revive? That is insane. You can see them putting the pressure. This is good smokes, right? They should throw those smokes a little bit further to just cover from those angles from the rest of NHyper, and then you push Ren. And it should be an easy knock if you're 412. But instead, they throw those smokes too defensively, in my opinion. They have the man advantage. Now's the time to be aggressive, not passive.
And they should have been way more aggressive a few seconds earlier.
Oh my gosh, Ren! 2 knocks. That's all you needed. And here comes the rest of NHyper looking to help him out. GK first coming around the corner. This is going to be an easy knock once he sees it. The blue zone is closing, though. He throws a smoke out, and he does get knocked indeed. Are you kidding me? 412. We talked about that hesitation. You know what I'm saying? That
there was a lot of hesitation there.
Oh, and that's all it took. I want a stopwatch on how much hesitation, how long it really was. And we'll go, and that goes to show you folks just how intense the level of play needs to be here. Passion Fruit could win this game.
They can.
Wancho's still alive. And there he goes.
Stealing
Wancho.
points away.
Nom, 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 nom. Eating up those eliminations. And Kindness goes down as well. The big nade. Passion Fruit gonna wipe the floor with the lobby, and it's just a 2v1 situation. And Wancho putting the nail in the coffin right there. Passion Fruit with a nice chicken dinner and some solid points. But I'll tell you what, the amount of points they got ain't passing up the amount of points NHyper did in this lobby. That's insane.
Yeah, NHyper, just another killer, fantastic game out of NHyper. Passion Fruit just looking better and better day by day, match by match. Great game out of 412 also. I can't fault them. They're a newer team. They're straight up a newer team, and you could see that indecisiveness, right? If we could hear the team cons, I bet it was called out multiple times, like, we could push this. Should we push this? I got a knock. We need to take out that threat on the south side. And it's just back and forth, back and forth. You saw Aleem, the first time he got a knock, like 4 minutes ago, he went down there, then had to go back up. Rest of the team wasn't ready. And then they got another one. Then they got really close. Aleem drove around the backside. Rest of the team wasn't ready to follow up exactly at that time. And it was just, that ultimately cost them the chicken dinner. But the attempts were made. Good job out of 412. NHyper did great. Ren stepping up here, looking at that stats. Dang, hot jukes.
Oh my goodness, that's disgusting. 7 eliminations. It's crazy. I mean, we saw YKG make what, like a 10-point? They closed that gap by 10 points. And then Hyper the next game are like, no, sir. That is how you get it done. What a crazy Eric L. We still got a bunch of more matches left to go, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after these highlights.
Well, Passion Fruit, I know they took the victory here, but I mean, we almost have to always talk about Hyper with the amount of eliminations they got. But before we talk about them, I mean, Passion Fruit, 412 Nomads on top of Everest, just chilling the whole time. And Passion Fruit clutches out the end. Wancho picking up a ton of eliminations as well here, trying to pick up the scraps of 412 in their fight up against Rin.
Yeah, you know, Passion Fruit and 412, their early investments into Everest paying off. That's what, you know, the call out for that mountain is. I don't know if maybe some people don't know that, but you know, they got in there first. They had that priority, and they, you know, rode that the whole time. Unfortunately, that does, you know, make for a lack of elimination point possibilities because you're kind of high up there. You know, there's not too much looking down. But Hyper, on the other hand, did not have a lack of opportunities. They were getting crashed, they were crashing, and they were doing it perfectly all along, and having a ginormous 17 elimination game. That is just crazy.
Yeah, the biggest unfortunate part here for YKG, right, is they clawed back the lead that Hyper had by 10 points in our first match of the day. But those 10 points are gone again because now Hyper took an 18-point advantage over YKG, stretching that lead even further. So 100-point plus at the moment now. Passion Fruit, though, close things out at 18. 412 Nomads at 14. Lotus at 8. You know, again, some teams we talked about towards the top of the leaderboards, like 2nd, 3rd, 4th place, and we're seeing them yet again here in our second match of the day.
Yeah, and you know, if you want me to get real nitpicky, obviously this should have been an Hyper win, right? When they were third partying that Lotus fight for this control of the south side, which was perfect. That's exactly what I wanted them to do, you know, claim that whole south side for them, and then just look up at 412 and Passion Fruit and farm them coming down the hill. You know, they overheated a little bit. You know, we saw some 1v1s that could have been avoided, but you know, he had an MG3, he was feeling himself, he went for the wide swing. You know, I think at this point the details, they're not sweating it, right? They feel their power, they feel how dominant they are. They're kind of just going in, and so, you know, not too much to say there, but
well,
they could have won. Yeah.
Let's see in Hyper's player stats at least, right? Let's see how many points or how many eliminations each of the players got. More importantly, in Rin, as we saw, 7 eliminations. GK first, I feel like he had almost a 1v4 against Speedfire in the crash, though he did have some assists coming in from Rim. Koi, not doing too much damage, to be honest, but doesn't really need to when the rest of his team is stepping up. And again, I think that's what we've been saying about the power of Hyper. We've been talking about kindness so often, but you can never sleep on Rin, GK first, Koi. Anyone on this team can pop off, and I think that's one of the things that makes them so damn dangerous here.
Yeah, you know, that is a really interesting thing to point out, right? We see kindness having these huge games. We definitely see GK first having these huge games. We see Rin having these huge games, and that's super invaluable, right? Depending on what position these players are in, yeah, it's almost only based on the position, right? Which opportunities come to which players. You know, it varies from games to game, but these guys can live up to their moments, and there's no weak link. And you know, Koi, he does have generally lower statistics, but he's playing a very different role than these 3 other players. He's always playing anchor. He's always off isolated by himself, playing those back end positions, watching for the flanks, and those are just the quieter positions naturally. And you have to understand, that does not mean he's a weaker player. In fact, you know, some of the best players in the game are the ones that are so smart, that are playing these support roles, and that are like, you know, giving these opportunities for his teammates. So I'd love to see, you know, how he plays. Don't worry about his kill points or his statistics like that. He's playing very well. He did overheat with his MG3 in that last game and cause him to miss out on the late game, but still.
I feel like you're talking about yourself, talking about these like more supporty players, you know.
Oh no, I was a fragger.
Let's take a look actually really quick while we have some time between the two teams who are on Everest. So we have 412 Nomads up against Passion Fruit. And I was curious about their stats between the two teams because they didn't really engage each other on top of Everest. But we can see 412 Nomads were able to put out a good 700-800 more damage than their counterparts here.
Yeah, and you know, that is natural. There is just generally more contesting on that western side where they were controlling rather than that eastern side. It's a little bit of a harsher push. It was just generally more quiet. So, you know, also just kind of opportunity.
Okay.
Not too much to talk about there.
Yeah, no need to. It was just great to see 412 Nomads continuing to play at this level as well as Passion Fruit. I bet both teams cracking open a Monster Energy official energy drink partner here at PMPL. You guys can unleash your beast as well by picking one up. I forgot to check if there is a passion fruit flavored monster, and if there's not, I still want my royalties on this if they ever do a collab together. You know, We'll see. Maybe one day. But you know what? It is time to head into our next match. I believe it's going to be Miramar here for our third match of the day. So it's time to head over to our... Thank you, Uneven, for the confirmation. Appreciate it. Let's turn to our commentators, Hachix and Zute, to drop us on in.
Is it collab or collab? Right? That's the question that I have here. Hopefully we get some answers. You guys let us know in the chat, right? I don't know how you're going to be able to do it with text, but I believe in you guys. Let's get into Miramar. Here we go. We got a playing path going right through El Pozo. That's going to make things fun. So, man, I mean, N-Hyper, you know, the best, you know, dominating, all that good stuff. YKG, not the best because, you know, N-Hyper's too good. And PASSIONFRUIT showing up here, Zute.
Yeah.
Nice chicken dinner, the last one.
PASSIONFRUIT definitely showing up. This team is... I hope we just see this team stick together, right? It's a new iteration of PASSIONFRUIT. Nate and Zuko, they were on the Panthers together. Great duo. And then Valak, Juancho. Valak's been on a team with the Juancho for a while, but Valak hasn't been playing. Last play, he had to sit out because of school. Now he is playing again, and I want to see more of Valak. I remember when I was talking to Valak, like, asking him, dude, why aren't you playing? Because, you know, you're good. You have potential. And his answer was, like, man, I got school. I think he just started university, so he had to take some time off, focus on his studies, and now he's back. And I hope he's back to stay because that team has got some potential.
For sure. I mean, they've rocket launched themselves in the leaderboard. I wouldn't be surprised to see them in second place after that last one, at least for phase 2. So I want to see them continue. At this point, you know, and Hyper's got a gap that's just untouchable. They're going to be the champs here at phase 2, right? Yeah. But, you know, Uneven said it, right? It's a battle for second place. And PASSIONFRUIT are definitely doing it. It's K19 at Wall Street Bets once again. Over here in Picado. I mean, a tale as old as time indeed, dude. What are they doing? Stop this.
It's better to fight for this position than, let's say, what was that other position we get hot drops in? Impala.
Oh, don't even bring that up again. Ugh.
At least this hot drop is for a worthy position on the map, right?
True.
And in my opinion, it's more straightforward to take a fight here. Right? You have a divide down the middle. You got a risky cross. Cover the angles. Impala is just so random, all the nooks and crannies that's in Impala. So I prefer this hot drop over Impala for sure.
Yeah, I do as well. HH24, dude, he's mad. He's got that Winchester, the Winnie, baby. Oh, I would love to see a Winnie knock here in this tournament. So Wall Street Bets did get one. K19 did get the res on HH, so it is, they have 3 people left. Just leave, loot up whatever's left, and take off. This is a fight you just don't want, you know. I think at this point you got to realize that, hey, this just ain't it. It ain't working out for us. So if you're K19, I think you've lost this too many times to Wall Street Bets to continue to think that this is a viable position. What do you think?
I already say they don't care, Jukes.
Okay.
Last time they dropped here, I was like, they don't care. They just want to fight for the sake of fighting. It's an ego thing at this point.
I like it.
It's optimizing points, strategy.
Who
don't
cares?
They don't care. They just want to take that fight and be the ones to be like, we won. We beat you guys this time.
Woo.
Right? All for it. All for it.
All for it.
Yeah. And the circle, a little bit to the east of Picado. Center is like that La Bendita Minas Generalis area. We know this area of the zone. It would be a favorite of N-Hypers, but they're not here. So some teams could really take advantage of taking up all those high ground positions, the splits that N-Hyper does. And I'm sure some teams will be able to replicate it, because if you're doing VOD review, one team you're definitely VOD reviewing is N-Hyper. And I see Extreme Slayers already taking those positions where, yeah, right here, where N-Hyper usually loots around.
Okay. Extreme Slayers looting up dead center of the map, so they're in a good spot here. You got Execute all the way up at the top by Cobreria. That's very nice to see. Lotus is looting up El Pozo, so they're going to be looted out the teeth here, so that's going to be a fun watch as well. Now, N-Hyper are not playing in this match, Zute.
Yep.
They're not playing. You know, if you're YKG, your just heart has to hurt at this point. You just gotta just feel like, ugh, a knife, right? Like it's just, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So, I wonder what the case is gonna be for YKG. Like, how do you rally in this position? Because any ground you make, it's like 1 step forward and then 2 steps back. That's gotta be the most frustrating thing to deal with.
If I was their coach and if I was in their shoes, honestly, I would just forget about it. Forget about the PMGC points and just because if they constantly stress about the PMGC points, it's gonna keep just tugging at their mind. They're gonna keep seeing in hyper, you know, get points, widen that gap. They're gonna feel a little bit demoralized, etc. Instead, I'd say just focus on yourselves. Fix up what it is that you think is like, you know, causing you guys to play bad, and come in strong during the tournament finals, and then obviously Americas, and then from there, maybe by then, you know, you guys fix it up enough to qualify to PMGC via the Americas, right? But right now, for them to constantly think and worry about N-Hyper and trying to pass them up and stuff, with N-Hyper playing just so well, it's just not worth the mental trouble, in my opinion.
I gotta say it's true. I gotta say it's true. You know, I mean, when you have a situation like this, it's gotten this dire, I think at certain points you gotta kind of have just amnesia. You know what I'm saying? And just say, hey, you know what? Let's just do our best. Let's just go out there and try to channel that week 1. You know what I'm saying? That phase 1 energy, because that's what they really need.
Yeah. K19 do make the rotation, and you know what? I like this. You're down to 3. We're down to 2, actually. May as well chase some players for points, because it's hard to play rest of Miramar with only 2 players. The bus, too slow, though. HH, the driver, thinks better of it. So, I don't know how much further K19 is going to get with just the 2. But they're trucking along, or they're bussing along.
Bussing along. And you can see them just 2 players down. Oh, man. K19... yeah, hopefully we see them, something for them at least in this tournament. I want to see, I don't expect them to win. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect them to be in a position that's just like crazy, but I want to just see the start, right? And I think that's a realistic expectation for them. I want to see a sign of life, be like, hey, all right, I got hopes for K19 in the next split, you know?
Yeah.
I want to see that sooner rather than later.
We'll see. A lot of teams have always shown like a lot of sparks, right? Puppeteer, BOPE, Ace of Spades. Almost like I can maybe pick out every single team. They've all had moments where they shine, but those are just moments, right? You want to see a little bit more consistency. One team, you know, in particular, PASSIONFRUIT. That's a team that had a spark, and that spark is now like a flame. Not a huge, ginormous flame, in my opinion, not yet. But it's a flame, and it's steady. It's burning, and it's looking good.
It's looking good indeed. It's looking good indeed. And that's what we like to see. You know, we like to see that flame out there. And, man, you know what? I'll tell you what. I don't know if we're going to see the flame from Execute anymore, Sute. I think that flame is starting to burn a little out. What do you think?
Yeah. I'd have to...
Back-to-back games where I see Tensa big chilling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, what a circle shift. A lot of teams already in this zone. All the power positions here pretty much going to be taken up, if not already taken. This is going to be a tough zone to play in, because a shift here in this circle, north, east, west, south, whatever the case might be, you have that giant church right in the middle, just dividing everything up. So it's going to be tough for all of these teams to play in. And the buggy wheel,
shots.
That's what happens when the wheel goes out. The player, that's a free point from there on.
Yes, I've been talking about this so long. When you see a buggy, you only aim for the tires, because they're going to spin out, and it's an easy knock and easy finish. Now, we do see one of the players from YKG get knocked, but I think he should be in a position to get rezzed. Yes, he is. Yeah, so they're going to go out and go for that res. 24K is just going to apply some more shots. And that's what you got to do in that position, right? If you're 24K, just shoot in this area. Even if you don't hit, it's enough to force D to peek back and not take the risk. So that allows his teammate to safely rotate on over and get the res on Chico.
Yeah. Good res right there. Butterfly effect. Get caught on the rotation. YKG on the edge of zone. And I think this is a decent spot for them to be in on edge of zone. Because from that position, they can fight their way in. If the circle goes a little bit too far away from them, it'll be a struggle because they will lose sight lines of the very northern side of this circle. We'll see what happens with them as the circles continue to progress. Canadian Eagles, on the other hand, on the southeastern side, rotating and making their way in. A lot of teams just trying to find their way into the circle. Extreme Slayers and Speedfire, the two teams definitely in the center of the zone.
Meanwhile, we're going to see Stellar on the rotation. Looking to go ahead and make some plays, and he's going to spin out right there. And we're going to see SLR going for a move. Right now, I'm trying to take a look at Excuse. Excuse is over there by San Martin right now, and they're in a pretty good position. So if the zone goes over there, they're going to be solid. And Excuse is one of those teams that's been kind of hit or miss for me. You know, they've had some really good solid plays. They've definitely lost it out. But I think the real big star is Chronix. Chronix, this dude has what it takes. I think if Chronix could really go and just get some good opening knocks, it's going to be hard for him to beat.
Yeah, I think might have been another player that had these stats. I think it's Chronix, so it was like 1,200 damage and 9 elims in one match, and that was the game Excuse ended up just going huge in. So definitely possible, and I think every team does need that one-star player to start kicking things off. For NHyper, it was Kindness, and the rest of the team caught on and started doing better as well. As we head into the next circle shift, it goes down to the southeast. YKG, NHyper's not here. YKG is going to try and get as many points as possible, and they're taking these fights.
And you can see YKG looking to go ahead and impress the action right now. Let's see how they're going to be able to handle this with that high ground. I like Fear's going on this rotation. He realizes this is stage 2, so they can eat a little bit of this blue zone. So they're trying to do this wraparound. You got to be careful, though. Bad, not willing to take those shots. And almost gets the run over, 24K does, and he hops out. Gonna get the quick thirst, finds the opening. Beautifully done. So nice cleanup there from YKG. And some good points on the board, especially in a game where NHyper is not playing.
I love the quick hop out and just to take the shots because his teammate, Fierce, got knocked at the top. And we see so many other teams, right? When you do that two-man car push, your teammate gets knocked, what does the other player do? They panic and they drive off. Instead, 24K instant hop out to provide the supporting fire, and he gets the trade easily.
Meanwhile, let's see, as 24K is going to get that loot. That's sweet loot. He's going to take some shots here on Lotus, most likely. Probably not, actually. They are outside of the circle, so I don't think they want to risk it. If you're YKG, I think it's better to just take those shots and knock a player out and then move on afterwards.
I mean, the thing is, there's 3 players here. YKG has a player deep inside the zone, so they have info on the zone. They're not worried about finding a spot in the circle, so they're allowed to play as aggressive as they want from the outside. And that was Chico just providing all the info and the comfortability for YKG, to know that they don't need to worry about scouting or giving away their position because they have their fallback rotation plan already.
Yeah, meanwhile, you got White Elegi looking just to hold it down for now for SLR. Robert GG from Extreme Slayers. I want to see him start popping off here soon. They're in the center circle over here near Graveyard. They're rocking a little bit of a split, just looking to hopefully hold off some squads coming on in. Supra taking some pop shots onto this buggy. He does, I think, pop a tire out as well, so that's unfortunate for the Canadian Eagles. Ooh, he did make a nice spot. Nice little headshot there, too.
54 damage right there. Right onto the head. Execute, finding their way into Minas. Pretty center, you can see right there. A little bit northeast of the dead center is where Execute will lie for now. Next circle, about to pop out. K19 with only 2 players in a prime location. That location might be pushed at some point in this game. We'll see if they can hold that 2-man defense. But for now, so many 4-man teams all on the outer edges of the zone. They're all going to be looking to make some type of play. Puppeteers on the northeast, they got to move. Passionfruit on the very north side, they also got to make a move.
And you're going to see Extreme Slayers in a really good position here. So I want to see them maximize it. YKG, they're on that southwest side, looking to rotate on up into the high ground. They could even try to make a press onto Speedfire, because this graveyard position here is really good. That church definitely looking solid on the side of Excuse, and YKG with 6 eliminations already, so it's a good solid game for them, a good start at least. They need to have a ridiculous match if they want to continue to, you know, channel that phase 1 energy and make that comeback. But right now, the calm before the storm. This is circle number 4. 5 seconds left on the clock. It is going to start to close, and zone 5 is going to be where it's at. And the question, right, is going to be which team was going to finish top 3. A lot of choices here. A lot of choices here with such a wide open area.
Yeah, a lot of choices. And so many strong compounds too, right? If the circle goes onto that compound, the team is chilling for quite a while. And you can see Execute. They have the edge of the zone, but nowhere else to go. So they're just going to wait, play for the next circle, which is what a lot of these teams are going to do. I'm still waiting to see what the teams in the north side are going to do, because they're not in the circle. And it is slowly but surely closing Jukes. PASSIONFRUIT, Puppeteers, what are they going to do here?
What are they going to do is the question. You can see everybody just focused right now, just trying to figure out where this next zone's going to go. I mean, this is only zone 4. Trick looking to possibly take some pop shots. I don't really know about this, honestly. I think right now you're just trying to get intel, just trying to look. Now, if you see a player just really expose themselves, then do something. But here we go. We got a nice engagement between PASSIONFRUIT. Valak gets caught by Rise, looking to get a cheeky off angle, and that's really going to hurt the side of PASSIONFRUIT. So will the NA curse continue of a team doing good and then having a rough next game? Juancho said, no, sir. I'm looking to turn things up. A nice, beautiful name from him.
A lot of noise being made. Extreme Slayers, they're hearing all of this. They're looking to come in third party. Puppeteers, 2 of the players knocked. Reckless winning his one on the low ground. That's a big one. He's going to look for it. No, he's not going to look for the point confirmation. He's going to find Nate as well. Reckless stepping it up this time for the Puppeteer squad. And PASSIONFRUIT, the curse continues. And when an NA team wins one match, they go out extremely early in the next.
And then Remix, you said it. I mean, they're making so much noise, and it took so long that Extreme Slayer said, I'm going to take these eliminations all day long. Remix, just so good. I wouldn't be surprised if they send the whole squad towards Puppeteers here to just confirm these points. Yep, I think Remix is going to do exactly that. Here he goes. Second thoughts. Second thoughts.
He doesn't know where they are. He doesn't know where they are. He's not
Blue
looking in the right direction.
him.
And Remix is... These are free points, but Remix...
These are free points.
Remix is just getting... Oh, no, okay. Now they're coming back down.
Oh, the monster truck.
Oh!
The Bluzo, though. Oh, Remix, no, in trouble. Remix made the decision to get back in the buggy, and a non-commit from the rest of the team is going to have Remix out of this match.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of lack of synergy right there.
Yep, for sure.
And it was Dong.
Sure.
It was Dong, I think, that got the long-range lock. That player is so deadly. New circle comes out, too, and it is right where they would want it to be, except now they're down to a 3-man. That is a huge loss for this side of Extreme Slayers. They could still do a lot with 3 and maybe even still win the game, but you definitely want Remix in for the late game, and he will unfortunately be taken out.
And meanwhile, you can see XCC getting some shots on the Trick. YKG looking to take advantage. They do take out Kai there. And now here they go. Looking to press on in. They do scare off Excuse. And now we see the passive legends. Speedfire. Big chillin' in church. Not holding any angles. Not looking out windows. Not getting intel. Just sitting, baby. You know what I'm saying? Clown's looking around, though.
Yeah.
That's actually a really tough
the
spot
problem
right there.
with this is they're kind of just trapped inside. Next zone shift, they don't have much to work with in the means of pushing out. Luckily for them, YKG is not going to camp that angle, and YKG is going to look for a better position for the overall late game. And that is Execute out getting mollied. I think that was a double molly from the side of Ace of Spades, doing a great job. And usually that compound where K19 is would be putting in heavy fire on everyone, trying to go within any sight line. But yeah, you can see right there. He's staring over there like, I'm not getting shot from that compound. This is weird. There's only 2, though. There's only 2. That's why. Only 2 of K19 there.
Only 2 indeed. Circle number 5 is popped. So the question, which team's going to end up top 3? I think I gotta give YKG some hope. You know what I'm saying? I gotta pick them here because, yeah, you know, and Hyper closed that gap that they had, you know, had just finally got a little bit of room to breathe, and Hyper stopped that. So now that Hyper's not playing, this is their time to shine, to really put some points on the board. So let's see what can YKG do. Now, Rosh, nice shots there onto Joey. That's going to put him in a position to be like, all right, you know what? I'm not peeking that again. And let's see how they decide to move. Meanwhile, SLR up in the north by Graveyard in a position to gatekeep Extreme Slayers.
SLR with the 4. They'll definitely have the man advantage against Extreme Slayers. Next circle about to shift on out. We see so many 4-man teams still left in the lobby, Jukes. So any of these teams could fight their way into the next zone if they lose the zone and come out on top. It's going to come down to the planning, the execution, the team synergy. That's really going to determine the winners of this one. YKG, an obvious favorite right now, especially with Hyper not in the lobby on the west side. And look, Joey, he's got that hilltop to work with. That's a great zone for the side of YKG. Almost every other team, though, has to push more into the circle.
Oh, my goodness. And then, man, imagine if K19 had their whole squad up. That would have been a fun zone for them, but now they don't. And you can see Extreme Slayers, yeah, forced to rotate on over. Gonna lose some players. Looks like all of us thought that YKG is gonna finish top 3, and rightfully so, especially considering that they have 7 eliminations, and they have a pretty good solid position. Fears is gonna be taking that up first. They're starting to do a split, which is not a bad thing to do if you're playing the edge. So YKG just looking to get some more intel and then figure out where to go next as the zone pops. Chronix is still up for excuse, though, and I'll tell you what, that's one player you definitely don't want to sleep on. Speedfire forced to push out. Arevalo got really beat up there. He does get that first aid off and looking to push on in. This is tough because you got YKG camping excuse and excuse camping Speedfire. This fight happens, I want to see YKG instantly come in third party.
YKG, they don't even have to move too much. They have such good sight lines on both teams. And they have the hilltops, right? They could just move up over the incline of the hill and shoot right down. And Speedfire getting cut down. I didn't like their position earlier. You have a 4-man team, but you're not going to be able to utilize those 4 people when all you have is one singular angle to push up in with barely any info. Cesar trying to find just a way into the zone now at this point. Probably going to have to give up the fight against Excuse because you got YKG right next to them.
Yeah, I think YKG, if this was phase 1 YKG, they would have already left and pushed way earlier. But I think now they just want to play it a little bit more safe, and that hesitation could cause some mistakes. Chronix, you know, doing a great job of applying pressure onto both squads in a very, very tough position. And that is making things really interesting. So YKG opting to just, hey, you know what? Let's play it passive. Let's play it safe. We have 7 eliminations, and Hyper isn't playing. Let's just put some major points on the board. We cannot afford to slip up and lose this. Nice suppressive shots there on the Cesar as he rotates. There's a pretty crazy rotation on it.
Excuse still staying alive right here in the dip. YKG making plays, and oh, Cesar does make it to that shack. They're still 3 up from Speedfire, so they're managing to keep some players alive while this zone is definitely punishing them. And the next circle is about to shift out. Also on the east side, I think all of BOPE got taken down. Canadian Eagles looking to control a lot on the eastern side as YKG still looking to put up more points on the board.
And YKG, they have this hilltop, but this position's going to start getting a little squirrely here. So they are going to hold this edge. Where's the zone going to go, though? Is it going to stay on this side? Will it center up? Will it hard shift? That's going to be a huge telling factor. It does center on up, so YKG have a direct path on in. And maybe even possible crash on the K19, but that's going to be really tough. You got to time that perfectly, because whoever goes there first is going to get third-partied for sure. And meanwhile, you got Canadian Eagles on the complete opposite side of the map trying to push their way in. And you can see, skills of mine, it's Trixie Boy. Up, last one up for the squad, once again, just trying to survive.
Here comes the crash by Canadian Eagles. Lotus, they pushed here earlier against BOPE, and Lotus managed to win the fight, but they took heavy casualties, and I think Canadian Eagles are aware of that. Pressing in very comfortably, very aggressively. You just need to deal with the two players, Jera and Fetty. Canadian Eagles, Quinn trying to get that off angle from the building side. Smoke's coming down now to block off vision. And the nades, they're looking for that one opening, and that should be one right there. It looks good. Does reposition himself, so Jera will stay alive. Molly coming in, and it is just time's ticking, Jukes, for the side of Lotus Esports.
Oh, Fetty's going to go down. Great push there for Canadian Eagles. 7 eliminations. So this is the Canadian Eagles we have been waiting to see. We saw it on one day, hadn't seen it since, but it looks like this is a good start for them. Meanwhile, SLR showing some signs of life with 6 eliminations, looking really good. So YKG applying that pressure. They have the high ground. They have the sight lines. This should be a solid game from them. They just got to make sure that they don't slip. Fear's getting knocked here. We're going to go for the res. 24K going to laser him. Yep. Going to get the knock and thirst on the rush,
Whoa.
but this gets traded in the process. That's 2 knocked for YKG at a pretty bad time.
Man, Rosh was just wide out of the
here
open,
comes
but then
Matt.
again, they don't have the zone.
Here comes
Making
Matt. That
the play
Molotov
right
looks
now,
bad.
going forwards as one.
Oh, and he gets caught. He gets caught in the open by SLR, but oh my gosh, YKG saying, oh, you want to peek that? I'm going to punish you for it. So great job there from YKG and a nice heads-up play. So YKG, with a position like this, are, at the bold rotation, right on into SLR. Here comes the DBS action. The shot's going out, and SLR are gone. Beautiful push there from YKG.
Great recognition of going aggressive right there, but they don't have the circle. The new zone popped up once again. They need to move. And look, Canadian Eagles backfilled onto their position. They have one player taking that mountaintop now, and YKG now have to work from the low ground, but I don't think they're too worried. They're just going to go ahead and press K19. They've noticed that this compound has not been putting out a lot of suppressive fire, so they have a good idea that it is definitely not a four-man team holding down that compound.
Quinn with some nice shots, not able to get the knock. Honestly, it's Canadian Eagles that have the best position here. They have so much real estate. You got K19 in the buildings. YKG are scattered out. They don't want to go out just yet. They need to survive. 13 points and a top 3 finish is great, but they need every single one that they can get if they want that miracle comeback onto N-Hyper.
It's going to start with this one. They can definitely do it. Next zone, they need to take out K19 without losing a player and without getting third party by Canadian Eagles. But Canadian Eagles are not making it easy. They're doing everything they can to weaken up this team so that by the time they crash onto K19, they're hoping for some knocks.
They made it!
And hoping for a nice, cleanly executed third party.
YKG made it. They actually made this position. That's already huge. Canadian Eagles are going to have to press the action. They can't sit any longer. They should push this. They should push and not leave their spot. They should push and leave their spot. But meanwhile, you can see as Joey catches a beautiful angle on the HH24. And Canadian Eagles starting to get in the vehicles now. A little bit too late, though, because this fight's already over with, and they're ready for them.
The push up, they're taking center zone control, but it is a 4v4. Could go either way. The nades are already coming. Nades back and forth. Who's going to dodge it? Both players dodge the grenade. It's going to come to the standstill. YKG's got to be the team to make the play, though, to make the push with the zone pressing on their backs.
I like the Canadians push because if that zone did go center, they would have been in big trouble. So huge for them to push. It was a little bit later than I think they should have done, but they are capitalizing on this split. Uh-oh, Bob gets caught, though. It's going to go down to who's got the best gun skills, who's got the skills to pay the bills. It's just Chico up, though, against 3 players of Canadian Eagles. So a beautiful finish for them and a solid game for YKG.
Great game for Canadian Eagles, going aggressive when they needed to. It was great to see that they didn't hold back, but we also saw them fall back when they needed to as well. They didn't try and do too much, so playing together as a team. 4 players falling back together, pushing forwards together. That's how it's done. Canadian Eagles with 2,100 plus damage, 13 eliminations. This is a team that showed signs of life, I think, just a day ago, and they're showing it again here and in spades. It is a great game for the Canadian Eagles. YKG, you called it out, great game for them, but they really needed that chicken dinner for the PMGC points.
Oh, yes, they did. Yes, they did. You know, so good points for them and a huge game for Canadian Eagles. 13 eliminations. Man, that's got to hype you up. So we've seen some pretty pop-off games from the squad multiple times so far in the series. And I hope this is that one that finally just, you know, puts them in a position mentally to just say, hey, you know what? Let's get it. Let's finish it off here. But, man, you take a look. YKG leading the leaderboards here. Most eliminations, 24K. Highest damage is Joey. I love to see that spread throughout the entire squad. So, you know, YKG finally bouncing back. It's unfortunate that they weren't able to get that chicken dinner. But I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a solid game to try and catch up, that's going to be it right there. So a good, solid game. And hopefully this is that game for them to be like, hey, you know what? We can still do this, baby. We can still do this. We just cannot give up. We just need to do games like this a lot more often than not. We're in a bad spot. We could definitely make it happen. Let's go ahead and take it on over to the highlights. And we'll be right back.
Well, Canadian Eagles coming out the gates here extremely well, and also having some phenomenal positions that even made uneven happy, I should say. Extremely happy watching that game with the way Quinn and the rest of his crew were playing in this one. And Canadian Eagles, obviously, they take home the victory, but YKG pick up a ton of eliminations behind themselves, trying to claw back that lead up against N-Hyper. There's earthquakes going off in my room. Let's take a look at the match ranking zone even, because we have to break this down here for all the people at home. Super important game out of quite a few teams here. YKG, 22 points. The point soak at the top here is redonkulous.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that was a really enjoyable, exceptional late game from these two teams right here. You know, I can't blame either one. YKG, the whole game, you know, they started off a little bit slow. They picked their quiet side, which I like, right? They're waiting for their moments. They're not rushing that early game aggression to force points, but they are, however, making sure to seize the opportunities that pop up. They had really nice third parties that, you know, they didn't really need to do, but they went for it, and it was safe, and they kept 4 up, and they played that really well. Paying attention to that kill feed, you know, clearing out SLR, you know, that's not an easy call to make in that late game, right? Because you're not too sure who's in that compound in front. Either way, they analyzed all the information perfectly, and they executed the best, you know, possible plan. I really enjoyed that game. Same for Canadian Eagles.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're talking about, you know, watching elimination feed, Canadian Eagles, the second they see YKG up against K19, they just swarm. You try to get there as soon as possible. But my kind of question to you is, right, you obviously wanted to go K19 because that's the compound you play from, but they only had 2 players. Do you imagine a world where if they had all 4 players alive remaining that they could have defended against that and took a victory themselves?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with 4 up, it's a totally different story, right? With 4 up, you have the resources to even third party the K19, or no, third party the SLR and YKG fight, right? Because you can keep 2 in your compound, holding off Canadian Eagles, like keeping eyes on that cross, because you know they have a big wide open field to cross, and you can put 2 men forward fairly safely up into that ridge. And you know there's all sorts of different ways. I mean, you know, I could list off a billion, but 4 people is just infinitely better than 2 in that situation. They're just so, like, there's just not enough different options for them once they're 2. When you're 2, you kind of just have to sit tight and hope that you're gonna get some crazy like double kills, triple kills once they push into you. Yeah, they're super limited.
Yeah, well, you know what? Either way, like, they held on well enough. They got a good amount of placement points. They got the 1 elimination behind them as well. We have to take a closer look at Canadian Eagles, because I feel like it's been a very long time since we focused on them as individuals, thinking back to Baby Tang constantly having some good positions. But he isn't the one to really step up for the team. It's actually going to be Bob this time. And obviously, you mentioned Quinny, kind of representing what we see out of Koi, right? Out of Hyper. Not a ton of damage, not necessarily a ton of eliminations, but what he gives and what he does for the team allows him to pull off victories like this.
Yeah, I love the proactive positions from him. You know, crossing that field and applying that pressure very early on, and then, you know, as well as coming back to his team at the perfect timing, right? He didn't mess up. He played that great, and, you know, and then obviously everybody working together for that last call to watching that elimination feed, knowing it was their opportunity to take those close buildings and really choke them out. Really, you know, great game from Canadian Eagles. I love seeing a clean late game. I haven't been seeing a lot of them. You know, and those are what I love in PUBG, is really nice high level late games, and you know, I'm very happy we saw one today.
Okay, well, what about YKG and their player stats breakdown as well? We talked about Fears being a integral part into the team, and obviously the improvements he's made from the spring to the summer or fall season. But Joey, man, you know, good time. Good. I'm happy to see Joey up there. I feel like we don't see Joey on the top of the damage and eliminations too often for the team. Not because he's a bad player, because normally I think he's just more so doing in-game lean, if I'm not mistaken. But 1,000 damage, 5 eliminations, 7 knocks, 24K, just doing what 24K does.
Yeah, you know, an IGL can always expect to have slightly lower statistics. That's just the nature of the game, right? You're thinking about too many things. You're kind of distracted. That's how you want it, right? You want IGL thinking big picture, thinking macro, and you want the gunners focusing purely on those stats and those, more importantly, the crucial elimination points in the team fights, you know, the ones you really need to get. But, you know, well-rounded stats here, 5-5-3-3. The damage is pretty evenly distributed. Yeah. Great game from this whole team.
Where the hell has this team been, though, man? Like, where has this YKG been? And I swear, these 3 matches they've played, I feel like they've done more work than they've done in multiple days combined in Phase 2. I would say almost the first 3 days combined to what they've done now today is a pretty equal comparison between them. And I don't know what it is. Like, obviously, you being a pro player, right? Like, what could potentially be the change to make this happen on such a drastic change?
I mean, it's so hard to tell, right? I mean, it's, as you said, like today, it's like night and day. They're reading the map well. They're moving well in reaction to that, right? Like, everything seems to be flowing well. Their team fights are hitting, their shots are hitting, and you know, where is that the rest of the time? It's hard to say. They're kind of finding their flow here, and you know, potentially it'll keep ramping up and stay up. I think, you know, I mean, a lot of games have passed. You know, it's hard to say it was kind of an underperformance, right? Because like we've been seeing this for 4 days straight now. So it has to be some factor. I agree with you that like has definitely changed today. I can't wrap it up to just in like the luck of the draw when it's been this many games. You know, too much of a pattern has built up. But what that factor is, it's impossible to know. You know, you got to be behind the scenes, and you know, it could be a reasonable one, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is not your excuses, it's the results. And that sucks. You know, they could have the best reason in the world, but people are only going to remember who won, right?
Exactly.
You can have a million reasons for why you got second place. Doesn't matter.
Well, the fact is, they at least took this match where Hyper was not playing, because that was their match off, to get a lot of points. But now going into their final match of the day for YKG, I mean, I think this is another chance for them, or hopefully their opportunity to continue to do so, right? Because then Hyper will play the final match, YKG won't. They need to start climbing back these points. And honestly, it is realistic. It is possible right now if YKG can continue to play like this. But the question comes now right here. Will they do so in their final match of Phase 2? There's only one way to find out with Hot Jukes and Zute.
We're on the play, baby, and we're gonna find out, I think, right here and right now. It's Sandhawk, right? The map that is the most difficult to be consistent on, right? The zone has to love you. Papa Blue has to bless you. And I'll tell you what, if you're YKG, you need that blessing right now, especially coming off that last match. But, Zute,
Yep.
if this goes according to PMPL NA Fall history, YKG should do bad here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, they didn't win the last match, so maybe they lost on
Ah,
purpose to
loophole.
avoid the curse, right? Because the team
right.
that wins does really bad the next match. So maybe YKG threw that on purpose. We'll see what happens here. The team that did win, Canadian Eagles, they're playing in this lobby too. So we'll see. Maybe if Canadian Eagles loses right now to the butterfly effect, then it's 100% confirmed. Curse is real.
Oh my goodness. Here we go. Let's take a look. YKG, they know this play. They've set this play plenty of times, right? Between these squads. So I wonder if YKG is going to make that rotation to Paradise. Try to switch early on. Let's see where the first zone decides to go to, though. All right, it does head down south, and we're going to watch this fight. That's been happening almost every Sandhawk match between Canadian Eagles and Butterfly Effect.
Looks like Canadian Eagles are on top of this one, already leading with the first elimination onto the Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect not looking in a good spot, very separated from each other, can't even really group up. We do see Exotico in a nice off angle. If Butterfly Effect is going to win this this fight against Canadian Eagles, it's going to come down to Exotico, in my opinion, and hitting some really good shots. Maybe even a double knock is what's necessary from him now.
Drago looking for those angles. Trying to catch Kubi. No, gonna give it up. Saw that little panda right there, big chillin'. And Canadian Eagles, I think, are gonna leave here. Because if they should know, right? They should know that if this fight takes too long, YKG's gonna third party us any second now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's just loot up. Let's dip. That's the right play, in my opinion, for sure.
Also, with the zone being the way it is, they know there's teams behind them that might just camp them, you know, by rotating in front. There's too many things that could go wrong. And I don't know, actually. It looks like they're wrapping back around to continue the fight. So they might be rotating or they might be staying to take the fight. Either way, they should be prepared for that potential third party. So we'll keep a mind on that. And as you mentioned, zone in the southwest. I think this is going to be a tough one for YKG to navigate through. This is going to be an easy one, though, for Hyper to work with. And Execute landed in Ruins. They're not landing in that northwestern island because PASSIONFRUIT is playing. So good for Execute, honestly, because that northwestern island has not been getting any zone love.
Not at all. Let's see. Who's going to get the love right here? It's all Rise. He got beat up from that one. This is a fight that's been happening quite often, right? We see SLR go land boot camp, and then Puppeteers go to hill. Puppeteers did camp out SLR before, so it looks like SLR is looking to take the fight to them this time and say, you know what?
Yeah.
We're tired of your shenanigans. We're not gonna let you just be comfortable on this hill. And a nice decision, I think, from SLR.
Yeah, SLR really opening it up right there. It looked like Puppeteers were set up for the fight, and they had the advantage, but SLR just hitting their shots, hitting the nades a little bit better. Now Puppeteers just down to the one player at the tower, and he's on fire, taking a bunch of pre-fire. There's nothing you can do. MEZEXIS will take this one over. And SLR, they've already backed off. They probably heard something or saw something, and they knew not to commit to this fight any longer.
Yeah, they said, we're out. We did our job, right? And I guess they got to be excited because they took out Puppeteers. That's, I think, was the only goal, right? Even regardless of whether it was 2 eliminations or all 4, the fact that you made Puppeteers uncomfortable was a good thing to do because they made them uncomfortable, right? Puppeteers hot dropped them in boot camp, wiped them one time, and they've been poking at them, capping their rotations, doing some things like that. So to see them be proactive and say, you know what, we're not going to handle this any longer, and now it's going to make Puppeteers question themselves, right? Second guess this position going forward. So sometimes that is all you need to do. See Joey? He liked that play. You could see him shaking that head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
What what I liked even more about that
What's
SLR
that?
play was that their end goal was to get to the bridge, right? The rotation. And
Mm-hmm.
they know Puppeteers do a split shot around the bridge. So if you add 1 and 1 together, which is 1, we took down some Puppeteers on top of the hill. Number 2, if Puppeteers on top of the hill, where are they not at? At the bridge crossing. So
Mhm.
SLR, their end goal was a bridge crossing rotation area, not the points. They did the damage, and they just swooped right down to the bridge and avoided a potential fight with MEZEXIS, which would have, made them lose everything. So that was a great job out of SLR to prioritize things really well.
Beautifully done indeed. And they still, and the most important thing, right, is that they survive with all the players up. So
Yep.
SLR are in a great position here. Now the zone, where is it going to go? It's this circle always scares me because it can pretty much go to any one of the islands. You know what I'm saying? So teams obviously are going to try to head towards that central position, where that little piece of water meets all 3 islands. That's the place you kind of want to be because just in case you get a crazy hard shift, you could rotate on in pretty easily.
And Hyper losing a player early on this time around. Haven't seen that happen in quite a while. YKG definitely saw that in the elimination feed, so that's going to be a little bit of a comfort for them. But we've seen Hyper down to 2 players make it into the top 3 and still somehow ink out like 10+ points. So down to 3, Hyper is still a deadly force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. You do not want to sleep on this team even for a second because these guys, we saw what they could do even with just 2 players, right? It's insane. Like they could just go and pop off at any moment's notice. So I love to see in Hyper how they've been playing. They obviously watched the amount of points that YKG got. So I wonder if they're going to get their get back here in this game because, that's what they did just a little earlier.
New circle is about to shift. PASSIONFRUIT just praying to the circle gods. Like, we're set up here. We got our split going. Please just go to the northwest for us. Just one time.
One
Just
time, right?
One time.
Please. Yeah. We've been committing to it. Gladiators got it a few times, right? In PMWI. Why can't we get it once? Let's see if they get the fortunate. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That is not bad. That's actually, I would be happy if you're PASSIONFRUIT here because that's actually a big break. And they can, we know that the bridge is clear. They don't, right?
Right.
So they could, start heading towards that position just to kind of gatekeep it because I think that's going to be a strong spot going forward in this next circle. Especially if they have those sight lines and notice that there's nobody across it. There will be probably in the next few seconds. So they got the time is of the essence. I think PASSIONFRUIT needs to start getting a move on it.
Definitely. BOPE taking some fire from long range against Ace of Spades. They should be okay to disengage this. Both teams should be worried about the rotation more so than anything. Because, this circle has a lot of water in it, meaning it is smaller than your typical Zone 2. So these teams need to start prioritizing spots. PASSIONFRUIT, you can see here, not doing what we were suggesting, which is do a little bit of scouting. Branch out a little bit. See if you can find an even better position. And that's one huge difference between all of these teams compared to NHyper. NHyper are not scared to rotate. They're not scared to scout things. Even if it's just a little bit of scouting, they'll risk it because they know how to do it very well. And as I'm saying all this, Jukes, as all this fighting is going on, guess where NHyper is in the zone.
Oh my gosh. Is it dead center?
They're
it
dead
right
center.
At the bridge? Yeah, color me shocked.
They're dead center.
Hyper. Man, these guys are the kings of going dead center. And I'll tell you what, they know how to use it, YKG is forcing that edge style play, which is good for those eliminations, and it worked out for them in phase 1. But as these teams have gotten more difficult on the edge, and I did mention, hold on, let's see this fight real quick, though. Let's see, let's give these guys their flowers as we see Fetty get knocked by Blinky Bay. Nice knock there for Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades down to the 2. Caught in the blue, fighting in the blue. Never a nice spot to be. Also, when you're fighting in the blue, the worst part is when you take down the other team down to 1, that one player is most likely thinking, spoiler time, right? That one player isn't going to just leave because they're a solo and they're down on manpower. No, that one player is going to do everything in their power to try and ink out one more point away from your team. So Ace of Spades, they gotta flush this out. They got the nades. Will that one hit?
Let's see. Oh, meanwhile, you got Onder just behind a rock, eating a whole bunch of blue zone with a dream. You know what I'm saying? He's all by his lonesome. He's like saying, hey, you know what? There's $500 on the line for the, the best play. This is my chance. This is my chance. 1v4 situation? Can you do it? Most likely not. But hey, we gotta hope. We gotta hope. You know what I'm saying?
Can he get one? Nope. Gives away his position. Now Ace of Spades know he's 100% behind that rock. More nades coming in. They're pushing together. Down to 1 HP. That nade really stung in the off angle. It's over.
Oh, and he is done and dusted. So a nice little pickup there for Ace. Ace of Spades have been putting in the work here recently, right? Like, we see them get into a lot of fights. Like, it's hit or miss whether they win them or not. But I think more after the not, they take the right decision when it comes to taking the fight. Now, this next zone does pop. They're in a really bad spot in this zone. They're going to have to push their way on in. We'll see how that works out. Meanwhile, NHyper big chilling over here by Ruins. And this spot is so dominant because there's so many different angles that they can hold. I mean, it is looking really, really good on the side of NHyper.
Yeah, all that grass field to the east of NHyper is within their control. They have good sight lines onto all of that. And that grass field to the east of NHyper, it leads uphill. So that kind of means they also have access way to the hill, the high ground. So they got a lot of options to play with here, regardless of where the zone shifts. PASSIONFRUIT, on the other hand, now they got nothing to work with, in my opinion, because they just stayed up there. They didn't venture out a little bit on the previous zone shift to get more info, get more control. Now they're completely in the blind. So every team's got to develop, their skills for getting some forward information, doing that scouting. Even though it might be risky, and you might lose a player, and it might be bad. You got to learn how to do it at the correct times.
Let's see if it's going to be in the correct time. Speaking of, oh, and look at this. Yeah, you got Execute coming in with a 3-man. That has got to be tough. I think they've been doing that pretty much all day long here today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Execute. We hope to see the rise, but instead, we're going to witness the fall. So hopefully we can see something from them, some kind of sign of life here. As Canadian Eagles, man, I'll tell you what, we've definitely seen them turn things up. 3 eliminations so far, and with a knock on the Trick. Yeah, it's just looking too good.
Wow, how did Trick get caught all the way in the back lines? That's a crazy shot for the Canadian Eagles. Maybe Canadian Eagles will break the curse. They won the last match, and they're not going down anytime soon. They already have 3, looking to pick up another. By the way, Canadian Eagles came from Paradise Resort. I don't know how they're over here, but what a rotation.
What a rotation indeed. You can see Fate going and getting that res off, and Quinn's going to go ahead and make things a little bit more difficult for him with that nade. All it does is going to take the laser one. We can't tell if that door is open or not. It does look closed. You can see him going and threading it through the window. It actually just bounced out. So, meanwhile, Canadian Eagles are going to start pressing the action. What a shot from Quinn. Yeah, Fate.
Yep.
That's it. That's it, bud.
Close range, though.
Oh,
Fate
the
is...
pre-fire, too. Just disgusting. Quinn finally starting to heat up here and looking real good.
Oh, that's rough. That is rough. Execute are just not having a good day. Goes from, bad to worse for them. As the next circle does shift right here. Where is it going to go? To the west? Oh, it goes to the north! That does make things very spicy, Jukes, because look at the amount of teams not in the zone, and we know there is, nowhere safe for them to go into that circle either.
Oh, goodness. You can see 24K taking some shots down range, and this is a tough circle, especially with it being so split. PASSIONFRUIT have to take out BULUC CHABTAN here if they want to go ahead and control that north side of the zone. YKG, this is actually not a bad circle shift for them.
No.
Yeah, NHyper are in a position to soak up a ton of elimination points, though, because there's so many teams going to be pushing right through them.
Yeah, they're only down to 3, though. So with this many teams that are going to be in their sightlines, their manpower being cut down does affect it a lot. PASSIONFRUIT coming here with the push. They tried to get some openings, but now 3 of them are down. And yeah, this is what I was saying. I don't don't know why they just had 4 on top of the hill the whole game. They didn't get any extra control on the island, and this is the consequences. And PASSIONFRUIT.
Uh-oh, getting shot in his back.
It. Third party.
Oh, that nade
somewhere.
is just rock solid nade. Goodness gracious. And down goes PASSIONFRUIT. So now BULUC CHABTAN. I mean, this was the push, the right play, right? They had to go and take BULUC CHABTAN out, but just the execution of it, unfortunate for them. Nice defense, though, from BULUC. Got to give them that for sure. Okay, here we go, Canadian Eagles. A team that's starting to heat up here. Now applying that pressure to NHyper. NHyper is very split in this position, and they're down to 2 players with 0 elimination points. So, I mean, Canadian Eagles, I like how Drago is just applying pressure. That's it. He's just going, shooting, throwing some nades, buying some time for his squad to get the res off, and they did. And now we expect the push to come any second now.
They did take down one of NHyper already, so from a 3-man down to 2, that is huge for the side of Canadian Eagles. That gives them enough working space to move into the zone. NHyper are not going to be able to contest this anymore, and NHyper is going to force their way into another area of the circle to work in from 4-1-2 on top of the mountain against Skills of Mine and Ace of Spades. Can they hold this down? It all comes down to Freepoint. Skills of Mine player down to 1 HP, backs off just a little bit. Can Freepoint have the reassurance to get a res off? He'll get the first aid off. His teammate's still knocked and bleeding right next to him. It looks like both teams, Ace of Spades and Skills of Mine, backing off just for now.
Freepoint throwing the nade out. Yeah, just going to go ahead and try to get this res off. Where's this next zone going to go? Oh, okay. Centers up, SLR. Big chillin' with the best position in this next circle. They got to watch out for YKG, though, because YKG definitely wants it. But YKG has to be very, very careful on their timing here. If they do it at the wrong time, third party is going to come out, and they're going to be in big trouble. GFK first goes down, and Rin is the last player up. 0 points for NHyper. YKG with 4. Uh-oh.
This might be it. This might be the first game where NHyper face a donut potential. And YKG, they need to really capitalize on it. We'll see what happens. Ace of Spades here on the south side, still trying to find somewhere for the circle to work in with. They want the high ground. They know the high ground so much better.
Yes.
But too much opposition up there from just Aleem alone. And with them running out of time, with the blue zone closing in, they will resort to the low ground. Ren, last one up. Can't count out NHyper. You can never count them out until they're all out of the lobby. So we will keep an eye on Ren here.
Oh my goodness, Trixie Boy is so close. Still he spot him? He has to. Oh, he does it! The double knock from Ren! Are you kidding me?
Hit that prone button.
Ren finally goes down, but he does steal at least 1 point. So a 1-point game for NHyper. You know, not that get back that they were looking for on YKG. But heck, I mean, in that position, getting 1 is better than none, right?
Yeah. And they wanted the position Canadian Eagles are working with here, right? We've seen this in multiple tournaments across, you know, the globe. That compound leads to that shoreline side, which you think doesn't have much cover, but it is so nice to work with because it has that little ridge. All you need to worry about is the north side across the bridge, and you have cover to shoot back.
BULUC CHABTAN under the bridge right now, just holding it out. But this next zone's going to pop and most likely go away from here. So they're in big trouble. And the Canadian Eagles are just going to wait here. Oh, the angle. They gave up a ridiculous angle, though. I'm surprised they were so wide out in the open. Got a little too comfortable. And, man, they got absolutely destroyed there by BULUC CHABTAN.
Yeah, they're not using the cover right there. There's some trees. There's some rocks.
The rocks.
Just get up behind it. BULUC CHABTAN putting in huge work. SLR has been sitting so comfortably in this zone. It is time for SLR to really put in punishment now. And just as I say that, I mean, they are up to 6 eliminations already, 5 on long.
Mazo 3K going down, man. He really had that angle on the Canadian Eagles. SLR with 7 elimination points already, looking real good. And BULUC CHABTAN is just trying to stay alive. But yeah, now Bob and Drago, they are upset that they lost so many players there. They're going to stick with this and make sure BULUC CHABTAN can't move.
SLR have to worry about YKG now. YKG have made the
it
crossing
across.
over. And SLR still have 4. So they're going to play together as 4, hopefully, for this defense. And honestly, right now, YKG and SLR, I think they're okay with just being neighbors for a little bit. Like, hey, we know there's a lot of other teams still fighting their way into zone. Let's wait it out before we take our fight so we don't get third-partied. Look at Butterfly Effect. Jason is right there.
Oh, my goodness. Jason just creeping in the water. And you can see right now, as Illusion does get knocked, Bob doing a great job of just applying this pressure on and on. He does get on fire a little bit, though. He's got to be careful. K19 goes down, and you can see Skills of Mine just starting to creep up on the Canadian Eagles. Drago, Bob, watch out! The turnaround, buddies! Oh, my goodness! They are out of there!
What a sneak up play. We talk about snakes in Sandhawk. That is one deadly snake. Ever so quietly getting the double. Looked a little shaky for a second there. But with that many shots, he does get it done. Now it's down to YKG and SLR at this compound. The zone shifts off of them, so they have to commit to the fight now. And Jason, he's going to play spoiler. He's going to be hurting one of these teams. Which one is it going to be? None of them. As Chico somehow spots that player out.
Chico said, nah, not today. I'm going fishing, baby. So it's YKG soaking up some big points. Fears does go down, though, and it is a tough rotation on in. Big heads-up play from SLR. Honestly, they're not doing enough. They should play even more aggressive here. Now you can see them churning up here. They have the blue zone advantage. 24K might just go out to blue here. Is he going to get this first aid off? I think he did. Nope, couldn't do it. Could not do it. So SLR in a great position to take an easy chicken dinner.
Yeah, SLR. I love how SLR gave some of their compound away, too, for YKG to make it across. Because if they were playing a 4-man split defense, one of them goes down to YKG, and then YKG probably wins that 4v3. Instead, SLR, they just stick together as 4. It's fine if they cross. They'll fight them later. We'll see if they can close the game out, though, as Skills of Mine finally does go down, snaking up into top 3 with some decent 11 points. Here's the rest of the fight. 2v4, 1v4 now. Mamba, he doesn't have much to work with. It should be done. Should be a clean win for SLR, and it is indeed a clean win. SLR, they may have gotten zone blessed, Jukes.
Oh, yes, they did.
Fight in the very beginning against Puppeteers, and then disengaging the fight to just swing on by to the bridge compound, that was the game-winning play. They made that play way earlier.
Yes, they did. 1,900 damage. Woo! And 11 eliminations. That is what we want to see right there. So a great game for them. I mean, when they got so blessed that they had that position, I understand why everybody picked them, you know? I picked YKG to win the match because I want to see a close battle between them and Hyper. You know, unfortunately, they weren't able to do it, but fortunate for SLR to put a great defense against them, right? They really utilized that position and dominated.
Yeah, it was almost like a trap for them to funnel YKG in only onto the south side. So they didn't leave a player there to contest it against the 4 members of YKG. Instead, they let all of YKG over and then kind of boxed them in. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, though. In this case, it did work out for SLR.
Long, the legend himself with 7 eliminations. Dude's absolutely insane. Guys, still got some more action. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Super lazy Reflex. Well, I don't know if I can call them lazy in this last match, but I can definitely say their reflexes are on point with the way they dealt with being in that compound as zone shifted towards them, dealing with fights on so many different angles. And even, I think it's a win they should be proud of, but also I feel like that's a win they also should be able to get for the position they had.
Yeah, I mean, that's, the nature of Sandhawk. The zone gives you wins, but they're fairly easy to throw away if you don't, if you don't play correctly. When you're in these kinds of positions, it's just all about limiting mistakes, right? You don't make a whole lot of mistakes, you're gonna get that chicken dinner, you're gonna get that nice little boost of points. But there's definitely places, everybody's trying to take that compound. YKG made that push. It could have gone wrong very easily, but it didn't, and they clutched it out.
Here we see 21 points for them, a team that kind of desperately needed points, as Ace of Spades get themselves 14, Skills of Mind 12. Nice to see Skills of Mind back up here, where I feel like it's been a long time since we've been able to really, talk too much about them. But Super Laser Reflex, I mean, they were in actually 6th place, are in 6th place now after that final match that just finished off here. So great job by them to get 2 chicken dinners so far here in this this phase. But YKG 10 points. Keep in mind that's YKG's last game here of this phase, and Hyper still have another game, but you're also not really seeing an Hyper here on the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, an early, again, it's Sandhawk. Kind of nothing to say. Sometimes Zone gives and it takes from others. There's just plenty of times they'd had really nice rotations through teams. They took a nice center position a couple zones back, and then it just kept going east and east and east, and they don't have vehicles, they don't have many options, and they kind of got picked away.
They're allowed to have a bad one once in a while, right? Considering they haven't played. Yeah. Well, speaking of bad ones, unfortunately, Execute there, Lotus, BOPE, PASSIONFRUIT as well. We saw PASSIONFRUIT start off the day pretty strong, getting a chicken dinner in our second match of the day. I think they're allowed to have a bad one considering the performance they've had this week as well. But let's maybe move it along here into SLR player stats, because we don't get to talk about this team too much. It's basically like 3 players from the Chosen coming back into this one. You see Long here. He's actually been one of the, I think, best additions for Super Laser Reflex too, because he has been a standout player quite a few times.
Yeah, here we see another example of that concept I was talking about, that when you get that center zone, and you don't have to rotate, it keeps closing around you. There's typically that one player that's in the right spot, that's looking in the right direction, and that scoops up all those elimination points. Prime example of that, yet again, very low damage received from the whole team. They kind of just were sitting from their spot, picking people off, and collecting their points. Nothing much to say here.
I like this though, because as you said, it's really easy to throw games as well if you're in that position, if you don't know what to do right, and to see them still be aggressive, still be proactive enough to allow them to get this much damage. Of course, eliminations in is, I think, a good idea, or a good showing of their awareness in that position. But another team who did decently well, Canadian Eagles. I feel like we've been talking about them a little bit. Obviously got a chicken dinner in the last match that we had happen. They've been able to do decent, get some good eliminations. Again, try to kind of, I guess, bounce back from what we were able to see out of them towards the later stages of Phase 1, I believe towards the early stages of Phase 2. But Drago's going to be there yet again with Bob by his side. Yeah,
this is, when there's that one team that gets all the circles and kind of sits nice and pretty, there's the team on the edge, fighting through a war zone, right? And then this is what Canadian Eagles went through this game. They had some really nice edging, closing in, taking those fights, taking some hard fights against high grounds, but still coming out on top. I love to see it. They got Sandhawk, they kept shifting east, and they were a western team. They kept having to run in, and eventually it'll catch up to you. But for a long time, they did really good. They got all those elimination points stacked up. So, perfectly acceptable game from them. Well played.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of not concerned, not confused. I actually just want to know a little bit more why Baby Tank hasn't been as impactful as we saw back in the first week. I feel like he was playing some decent off angles, or at least had some decent positions when they needed him to pick up these eliminations. But maybe something I should ask them before we get into our third and final phase. Of course, not kicking off next week, since we do have next week off, and we'll be back the following week thereafter. But we are about to head into Erangel as our final match here of the phase, and maybe we can take a look at our top performers when it comes to Erangel overall. I believe this is actually from overall, if not just from from phase 2. It actually is from phase 2. But we can see in Hyper talking about those almost 2 average KD per player. Well, 7.6 on Erangel is close enough.
Yeah, I mean, Erangel is like typically that one really consistent map that's pretty reflective of where a team's at, right? Everybody's playing at their highest level on Erangel. And so when you see a team pumping out 7.6 KD, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you don't even need to analyze it, right? You just say, yeah.
pretty obvious. I'll just keep saying yeah over and over again. Like, these guys are playing absolutely phenomenally. I just hope that they keep it up, and they improve even more and more, and that we'll see a nice, strong NA representative in Americas, and then eventually PMGC. That's all I want. That's all I want.
You know, I hate to be the pessimist here, but I'm still not convinced they're in a state where they can play at the same level as the teams in PMGC. I'm still not even necessarily fully convinced, even coming into Americas, that they can play on the same level as some of these Brazilian teams and Latin American teams we have coming in. But I will say this, I've not seen them look as good in spring as they look now. That is for sure a statement I will make. And I'm curious to see if they can battle up against the likes of Americas and of course in the PMGC, because, man, when are we ever going to have NA do well again? It feels like it's almost impossible, but I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the strongest I've seen. You know, there's been many iterations of this, but I kind of consider the team under Stefan's management that, you know, that was alive back when I played Nova before this, and, you know, it's kind of all the same team environment and same staff, and so this is the strongest I've ever seen them for sure, especially comparatively, you know, compared to the rest of the NA scene. And so, but as you said, we definitely cannot make any assumptions. We can't know until they're there, right? And they put up these performances against those stronger teams. That'll be the real test. It's impossible to tell. You know, anybody can look very good in an easy lobby. Don't mean to say it's easy, but you know, but it's easy. There you go. I will say it. So that doesn't mean that they're gonna do bad, but it does mean that it's a lot harder, right? Because they're not getting that same level of practice. They're coming in basically with all theory and no training to test it out, right?
I almost want to imagine though, like, if you're them and you qualify for PMGC, which is going to be kicking off decently soon, maybe they'll head back to China actually to get some practice against some PEL teams, to kind of get their mindset ready to go with what's coming up around the corner, because that's probably some of the best practice you can get in the world.
That is definitely the strongest regional lobby there is.
Okay.
That would be beneficial, yeah.
Well, let's see. We're going to head into our final match of the day now. Hotchicks and Zute, take it away.
This is a quick day overall. This one was just like bang, bang, bang. Let's get it done. And here we go with the last final match now. Looking at the teams that are playing here. Again, YKG is sitting out. Yep. YKG is sitting out, and Hyper in. Now, this is their opportunity to get that get back. You know what I'm saying? To really show up huge. So let's just see how huge it's going to be. And it couldn't be done on a better map for them, like Arendelle.
The tried and true Arendelle. The map where in Hyper probably feels the most comfortable in, right? They're the best
at the most.
Yeah, they're the best at rotating, and Arendelle is one where you could really capitalize on that. We'll see how this match goes for them, as it is the last match. You know, anything can happen in the last match. We see a lot of shenanigans, so keep an eye out for that one. Playing path looking pretty decent. All comes down to that first circle that's really going to determine if it's going to be a crazy one or not. We might see Millie base. Might see, you know, a far northeast circle Stalber. We don't ever really see that. Fingers crossed just a little bit. And a hot drop between K19 at Berry Pier. That's K19 and Speedfire, I think.
Oh, all right. Well, let's see how that's going to work on out. K19 loves the hot drops. You know what I'm saying? They cannot get enough of them. They see, you said it. They don't care. They just don't care. Now, they're going up against Speedfire, the most offensive team in this lobby. So they got to be careful.
Yeah, that nade not making it to the rooftop right there. Tuki did run back down the stairs, so a little bit of a juke Tuki pulled out right there. Hot jukes. That's how you got your name, right? You juke all the bullets.
I did. Well, I played a few games before this, and I was really known for being shifty. You know what I'm saying? Breaking them ankles in game. So, meanwhile, oh my gosh, Speedfire.
Wait, that was a self nade.
Speedfire, so aggressive. So aggressive here. I mean, it's aggressive enough to realize that, you know what? K19, we're going to beat you. We don't even need a full squad up. We don't even need a full squad up. We only need a couple. Let's go. There are other players at a ridiculous off angle as well. So they say we don't even need 3 people. We only need 2 people. And I'm going to bandage and let you know exactly where I'm at. Oh!
You didn't hear him. Oh, it's okay.
It's the shot.
They're going to recover.
They're going to recover.
Surely.
It was all planned. It was all planned. It was all part of the plan, baby. It was all part of the plan.
Double knock.
Triple.
Oh.
And here comes Jimmy.
I'm coming.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Oh.
I'm hurting. I'm hurting. I'm still coming. Oh, I'm laying. Big nade. Big nade right here. Through the window. Oh, actually, it was kind of just nowhere, but you never know. Could have been someone there. Here goes another, though. This one may be more on point.
Yeah. Surely K19. Surely K19 don't lose a single player.
Nope.
Oh,
That's one.
One knock.
Over and under
HH.
shotgun.
Oh. Yeah, 15 shots. He can't do much. Second.
He's got 2. Get
No
3.
way.
Get 3, K19. Oh, the reload. Oh, the reload on the over and under. It's too long. And down goes Speedfire.
I gotta give a
Honestly-
shout out. I gotta give a shout out to Jimmy though. Jimmy, I think on Speedfire is the most mechanically gifted
Facts.
player on the team. Because
I will
we saw
say so, yep.
McKindy. He was the one that ran out by himself, stopped the 3-man push, knocked 2, and the rest of the team just stood and watched, and then he got thirsted. Right. Right there. It just so happened Jimmy wasn't the one being pushed, so he was late to that fight. I can't really fault him for that. But man, he can hit his shots. So shout outs to Jimmy from Speedfire. The rest of the team though, I don't know. Something's definitely lacking on the team. The self nade did not help, right, whatsoever.
I'm gonna ask you a question, okay? We didn't prepare this, so you and I have talked about one of the biggest issues when it comes to North America, right? And that's teams splitting up after a PMPL, right? After any major tournament, just swapping players, making adjustments, stuff like that. Okay. Now, I'm gonna ask you this same question about 2 teams in particular and 2 players in particular. One is gonna be Speedfire with Jimmy. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other is gonna be Skills of Mind with Trixie Boy.
Ooh.
Okay. Do these players, in your opinion, do you think it's a strong idea for them to stay with this squad, work it out, get better together, grow? Or do you have a feeling that these players are going to end up getting stolen by another team?
It comes down to who's knocking at the door, right? If it's a team like, say, just throwing it out there, you know, like in Hyper, saying like, yo, Jimmy, like your plays.
See ya.
Yeah. Jimmy is out of there.
See
He's
ya.
like, do I got to move to China? I'll
Where
ask
I gotta go?
ask my parents if I could move to China.
How much do
I'll
I have
do
to
it.
pay? How much
I
do
pay
have
my
to
own plane ticket. Done deal. Don't even worry about. No sweat. I will pay my way. You know, it depends on who's asking, of course. I think that's one big factor, and then of course it depends on how the team is doing. Not, you know, performance-wise on screen, we know they're not doing well, but like behind the scenes, right? Is it positive? Is it like, are we talking? Are we trying to improve? Is the team seeing eye to eye? And, you know, there's a lot of factors, but, you know, changing teams is definitely a pitfall for NA. But for a lot of the teams, because they're so new regardless, right? It's like their first time playing, you get a pretty quick idea of like, is this a team worth putting another split in on working together, right? Most of the times I'm going to say it's no, because a lot of the teams are new regardless. And when you throw 4 new players together, it's not meant to be, right? The synergy just won't be there.
Yeah. It's a tough decision. It's a tough decision. And you're right. I mean, if someone goes knocking on the door, that's how you get gone, you know? And you never know who's going to knock on your door. It could be another team here in North America. Could be an international team, right? You even had one of the best players in the entire nation, Coops, right? He got he got stolen by an entire different region, you know, and you know, the effort that these regions are putting in, the amount that they're offering, right, to pay these players, sometimes a life-changing amount of money, it's just too irresistible. So
And
I think
not just that, like it's an experience of a lifetime.
that's
like,
true. I mean, he's living.
How many people say I moved across the world to play video games?
That's wild. I mean, I got
Yeah.
to talk to Coops personally in Saudi. I got to talk to him, and I asked him some questions. I said, "Hey, man, how you enjoying this? How did your mom, accept this?" She said, she was hesitant at first. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't
Yeah.
too happy about her boy, moving across the world. But man, he says, I'm playing in Turkey. I'm playing in these other areas of the world in gaming houses. I have support from coaches, and yeah,
That's
I mean,
nice.
what more could you ask for? As a young man, just getting paid to play video games. I'll tell you what, that's going to look crazy on a resume, saying I lived here, lived there. You can't beat those experiences. So, that's what a lot of these players are hoping for. So I think that if you're on a team here that's struggling, and if you have an inkling feeling that it's not going to work out in the future, I think it's just time to put in that work, make a name for yourself. And a team that's kind of hit and miss for me, execute, right? Trick has been that guy. He's been in multiple teams getting swapped over, but with how good he's been fragging, I think he's one of those players that just we'll always see on a team.
Yeah, there are certain teams that do have that star player that just can't make it work with the rest of the team, but they're putting in work themselves. We'll see how Trick does this match as PASSIONFRUIT find the opening. Yeah, this PASSIONFRUIT team looking so much better. And honestly, I think it is a large factor due to the fact, or I'm stumbling on my words here, Jukes, but Sixless, I think him not playing and just kind of more so coaching and guiding the team is giving them a huge improvement. And, with Sixless, he honestly hasn't played the game competitively in a long time, but he's been watching tournaments. He's been, still brushing up on that. So maybe that's where his strong suit is for this team, and it's showing.
Man, I mean, something's working. That's what we know for sure, right? I mean, we did see at the beginning, like phase 1, early phase 2, that PASSIONFRUIT just looked all over the place. Their synergy just looked garbage. I'll say that.
It was really bad.
It was really bad. They looked like just 4 single players looking to make plays all by themselves. And any team that had even decent synergy with not even the best gunners was just body. But now we're starting to see them, right, make the correct decisions, make the right splits. We see them covering each other, smoking each other out, and that camaraderie. And I'll tell you what, building synergy is so easy when you're winning games. You know what I'm saying? When you're putting in good performances, everybody's feeling happy. You feel more confident, and your brother's next to you, on the battlefield. You're like, hey, you know what? You trust their call-outs more. You're just more sharp. And I love to see that from PASSIONFRUIT because I love this roster. I think this roster has so much potential. I think Juancho is a superstar, and we're going to see it here eventually from him. It's just a matter of time, and I think that, they continue to have games like the way they've had. And look at this. Look, even they're pushing together. Pretty tight, looking pretty solid.
Yeah, you go onto the frame of them, and all 4.
That's a knock. That's a knock.
Synergized.
On the way. On the way they go.
Confidence. Yeah, I think they're just they have like no pressure on them right now, right? PASSIONFRUIT.
Exactly.
And it shows because they're playing so freely. It looks a little haphazard, but look at it.
Oh
As
my
a
goodness.
team, and it just works.
This is where they were their best, when they're just carefree, right? When they're just carefree, you're right. There's not pressure on them. They're not having to worry about, losing to N-Hyper and losing their spot to PMPL. So they could just kind of work on the game together. Now you got Juancho pushing up to Nate. Beautiful smoke right there to cover that angle. I would have liked to see it more on the right side, but just in case, because you never know if there's somebody creeping over there from Chinky. And yeah, PASSIONFRUIT just taking advantage here. Uh-oh, Exotico. Quick U-turn. That is taken, and he did it right on time.
And they have gotten evicted out of that hilltop, and everything else is taken as well. I'm looking at the minimap. Hopefully, we'll get to see the minimap again, because there is so many players alive. This is like the opposite of the last game of the day. Everybody still looking to put up a huge fight, not taking fights early just to go out, and it's looking really packed here with the amount of players in the lobby.
Yes, it is. And Extreme Slayers are going to take this compound down south. This is probably one of my least favorite compounds to take. It's a really tough spot. I mean, you have sight lines on everywhere from, you know, anybody crashing into you, but leaving there is the problem. And we did see SLR do it earlier in the last area gale that we just saw, so it is possible. SLR rocking a 3-man here. Losing a player earlier, that's gonna sting. And uh-oh, excuse. Looking to creep up on them little by little, but it does look like SLR should be able to sneak away for now.
Excuse, trying to figure out their rotations right now. Coming in from the ruin side, it is always a tough part to rotate in from because you don't get a lot of just sight lines to scout from one position to the next. You kind of have to, you know, blind scout like that compound right there. Just driving right next to it, hoping no one's there. SLR, they are still wrapping around the map and they're just gonna eat fuck casualties every bit of the way. They're down to 2 now, Jukes.
Oh,
I think they had 4 coming in from the hard north. They lost 1, maybe to execute, and then now they're losing more.
That hurts, you know, and that's sometimes a situation you get put in when you get evicted from a place. You know, you drive around, you try to find a spot. I'm not a big fan of blind rotations. I think it's better for just you guys to take a fight and just try to get it done. If you go out, you go out. But, you know, sometimes you just want to put some more points on the board. But, you know, with placement points being just so low, more often than not, I just don't think it's the play.
Yeah, when you have 4 to begin with, it's like you want to look for the setup fight, right?
Yeah.
If there's a way you could push into the circle that you're comfortable with, that you can maybe find an opening, I'd say that's always the best option first. And if you don't find the opening, then you rotate. But just straight blind rotating with 4 will inevitably lose players along the way. SLR feeling the brunt of that. Looking at the map, where is the circle going to go? You see the east side's heavily compacted. West side a bit more open, but still a lot of positions in the west being taken up. And the circle will go east.
Oh,
There's not a lot of cover in this zone, Jukes. And you can see the ones with cover all occupied.
oh yes, it is. And you can see Excuse up there on the top by Ruins and Hyper down there in the south. Dead center is completely open because it's gonna be. There's not any cover in that area. So teams just trying to make best with what they got.
This is going to be a chaotic ending. We're going to
Yes,
see
it is.
a lot of stragglers out in those fields with some smokes with the blown up car because that's all that's left to play in. Blue zone not even closing in yet, and you can see the scramble of all the teams not in the circle. They know there is no waiting this one out. They just got to go now and hope for the best.
Goodness gracious. All right, well, let's see here as Liam looking to hold some angles. K19 doing the same. All right, K19, you know, they had that squad wipe earlier on.
Yeah, it's
And here comes Passionfruit. All right, Passionfruit rocking this Pachinki hillside. Looking to get into it with BULUC CHABTAN. They don't really have to. They should prioritize zone, but I think they need to get this fight done with so that way they control this entire side. Oh, what a solid finish onto Zuko is going to start things off. A good return nade, though.
Nade.
Oh, and a shutdown on Illusion. This has got to be a full push now here coming from Passionfruit.
Yeah, straight out the car. That was a huge one. The first one was great to stabilize things, but the second one puts the advantage back onto Passionfruit. And yeah, like you just mentioned, they could look for that push. Here comes Juancho down the side. Maybe as a distraction, picking up some more info, finding a wide off angle, applying so much pressure as, look, the rest of the team just pushes right up. This could still go bad for Passionfruit. They need to be careful. They get another one, and they are cutting BULUC down right now, Jukes.
A minor going down, and there we go. Passionfruit with another amazing fight. They do get the finish. I think they did kind of give BULUC a little bit of a chance there. But they weathered the storm, and Passionfruit with 7 eliminations, looking really good here today.
And you can almost tell by the way they're playing. They're just having fun, but they're also communicating together as a team. And Juancho, like, I love what he did there. He pushed down, sure, you know, you see a lot of players do that, but he bought time for the rest of his team to push up closer because Juancho pushed down and then veered off. Right, he didn't just push down and hop out the car and take his off-angle fight. That would have been too early. He veered off, gave more time for the rest of the team to be on the same page, and it's those details that really matter.
It really does. You gotta make sure to make the correct decisions, an active pre-fire, and say, hey, you know what? Just in case someone's sneaking in back through there, gotta let him know. But he has nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, the 3-man team of Execute been rocking a 3-man pretty much all day today. And you can see them trying to make the best of their situation. They do get a knock on to Quinn. That's pretty huge. Canadian Eagles are looking to just drive and have some fun to finish things off, running over their own player. Luckily, that didn't hurt them. And a nice knock back and forth. Fate shuts that down, though. And a nice shot here on the Drago. Okay, Execute. Shutting down Canadian Eagles, making it look good.
And that got really chaotic really quickly. You saw Faye right after he finished that, running into the blue like, where you at? Where you at? Oh, okay, you're knocked over here. But more knocks happening on your screen. 4-1-2 against MEZEXIS. MEZEXIS catches one player on the outside. It's all down to Gunpain and through the grass. Skyline clutching it up, winning that fight for the team, and he will manage to get the one revive. K19, not third-partying this, but I guess they have a tough field to cross. Yeah, with N-Hyper looking their way. That's a tough one. Oh, man. N-Hyper, when N-Hyper's pitting you down, it's really hard to make a play.
It really is. They're going to take this Gatka building here. They work really well from this position. We've seen them take it many times in the past, and now they're just looking to soak up some eliminations. And by soak up, I mean it. They can see them looking in every direction. Do you notice how they're not just staring inside the buildings, Ute?
Yeah. Every player's got an angle right now that they're... Wow. He just... You know what?
Deny the point, baby. Deny the point. There was no way he was making it out of there, to be honest.
He mollied himself and his teammate.
Yep.
That's some next level denying of points. He's like, YKG, I'm going to do you guys a solid. Because I know that's in hyper shooting at us. You need all the help you guys can get.
Goodness gracious. Okay, the question, folks. Which team is going to get the most elimination points? All right. Who's it going to be? You got Execute with 7, PASSIONFRUIT with 7, and you got N-Hyper. That's N-Hyper. And oh, goodness gracious. PASSIONFRUIT goes out.
Well, they've been running over a lot of teams, but when it comes to top tier teams like Extreme Slayers, it's not as easy. Good effort. They tried it as a team, but Extreme Slayers, they're a little bit cut above the rest of the teams, right? So Extreme Slayers stopped that one down.
Wow. I mean, got to give a heads-up play for them. I like the fact that they went for it. Just unfortunately not able to get the finish. Great job from Extreme Slayers. Good to see something from this squad. You know, saw them go crazy early on in the tournament. We've seen a big lull. But you know what? Sometimes you got to do what I call download the update. You know, as the tournament goes on, strategies change, teams get better. You got to download that update and start dialing it in. I'll tell you what, N-Hyper had that thing downloaded. PUPPETEER's looking to find something, though, as they're starting to get some more points on the board here from this edge.
Yeah, you said N-Hyper's had that thing downloaded. N-Hypers are the ones creating the patch updates,
okay? They're the devs.
Yeah, that's how far ahead they are right now compared to the rest of the lobby. It's not that they're downloading the update first. They're the ones making the updates for the rest of the squads to try and learn from.
Wow.
Here comes Extreme Slayers over the top. I like this. Flanking over the back, taking the high ground. Let's see if they can pull this one off. However, Dong, he's ready. He's up close and personal. They need to stop this push from Extreme Slayers. Out the car, Dong finds the opening.
Oh, gets caught, though, from Frady. Frady putting in some good work here. Now, this is a huge split from Extreme Slayers, so it's really up to Frady by himself to try and hold off the entire squad of Puppeteers for his team. How's he going to do it? That was a nice nade, but he's going to watch out. Rise is going to throw one right near him, but I like the fact that Frady didn't hug that tree, because usually that's where a player would put themselves in that position. Here go the smokes. He's going to go for the res on to Robert.
This would be clutch if he could get it off.
It's going to be hard, though. I mean, N-Hyper is not looking up at the spot. It's a hard angle for them to see.
Nope.
Never mind.
And it's kindness.
And Frady said, see ya, I'm out of here. That was kindness. I'm out.
Yep.
That was kindness. We're out of here. Nope, nope, nope. Kindness from long range. No, thank you.
Man, I wish Extreme Slayers were a little bit more on the same page. The game-winning play, in my opinion, would be to sweep up the north and take that one out. But a little bit split up. MEZEXIS, Crow, making it look so easy.
Crow said, oh no. Oh no. This is just a couple players at K19. No sweat. No sweat. 6 eliminations so far for MEZEXIS. And 3 for Crow. And meanwhile, you got Puppeteers up on this ridge line. This is a tough spot, guys. This is a sweeping hill down with 0 cover. So I'm not shocked to see teams hit the deck. You see Killjoy looking to find Cat. He looked away at the worst time. Oh, that's the worst. Oh, he still got it. Okay.
Oh, the shimmy. What?
With the DBS from downtown, and then finally Execute said, "Stop that." Takes him out.
Execute doing a lot of work, by the way. They're up a lot of elimination points, just working from the field. This is not easy to do, so kudos to Execute.
Fates
really
down.
stepping it up this game. Yeah, 8 elimination points, and they've been just working with, like, no cover.
Okay, so the question is, how hard of a chicken dinner will NHyper get here? With how many eliminations? They have the main cover in the zone, and you can see Fetty about to get his toe shot up if he ain't careful. Now, he is underneath that vehicle. Extreme Slayers are wide out in the open and getting punished. Oh, underneath the truck. Yeah, this is a really tough position. You think that's a lot of cover, but there's so many angles underneath. You can see him hugging that tire. It's just remixed up left. Yeah, down goes Extreme Slayers.
I think NHyper has spent all the bullets in like that whole compound. Yeah, Koi had 1 shot left in his AK, and I think he's switched to the AK.
This is a rough decision. Going to this truck is tough because I'm telling you, that truck is not as amazing as people think it is. But I mean, what are you gonna do when everybody else has nothing, right? All they have is just some tall grass. Oh, a burned up vehicle though should be enough cover for Execute. Kindness on the roof though. This is a man you don't want on a roof with all the vision in the world and cover. And he jumps off of it totally on purpose. Totally on purpose, by the way.
NHyper making this look like cake.
Oh, this is cake, bro. It's over. Like, this game is done with. It's an NHyper chicken dinner 1000%.
For like the 3rd time in a row. Last game, right? YKG's not playing, NHyper wins. And it's them just getting blessed that circle. Honest, this one was a blessing. I think any team, okay, maybe not a couple of teams could have won from NHyper's position, but almost any team could have won from NHyper. And wait, did they just get the circle again, Jukes? I think they just got the circle again.
Give it to them. They need it real bad. They need it real bad.
That's filthy.
it's
then again, when NHyper doesn't get the zone,
like,
when NHyper doesn't get the zone, they still do really well.
But
so.
why give it to them? You know what I'm saying? At least make them work for it. But instead, hey, you know what, NHyper, here's a chicken dinner on a silver platter. Would you like some sauce with that? You want some fries on the side?
They've basically been in training range this whole match.
That's right. That's right. At this
it's
point,
training range simulation.
Oh, burn up kindness. Burn up kindness. Might as well. You don't even need him.
I think, yeah, he meant to smoke.
Oh, Execute. See you later. I put my money on Execute here for most eliminations because, you know what, they had so many. And Hyper had 2. I knew they had the zone, but I was like, maybe Execute can make something happen. Maybe they could be some sort of hope. But that hope is gone. That hope's gone. And Hyper's winning this with most eliminations, 1000%.
There we go. There's 1. There's 2.
There's 2. And there's 3. And goodbye. And Hyper. Most eliminations in this game. And making it look easy.
Crow, does he deny the point?
Just do it, dude. Just oh, the run over almost happening. He's making some plays into the lobby. And Hyper. Another chicken dinner. That's how you get it done.
Another one.
Another one.
And another one.
Oh my gosh.
You know, that win was so easy for NHyper that it's almost not worth talking about. So here are some other key points in the game that stood out for me. Butterfly effect, the self-molly, and team molly to deny the points from NHyper. They knew what's up.
Yep.
They're like, NHyper's already got way too much points. I'm going to not just molly myself, but also you. That was a huge standout moment. Kindness, of course. Of course.
Heads up to Crow, though. Highest damage. There we go, MEZEXIS, right? Making some noise here. And I'm really proud of Canadian Eagles today. I think Canadian Eagles did really good. I think they put up a lot of points on the board. and we saw some really good signs of life from them. PASSIONFRUIT did a great job
Passionfruit
here
as
today
well.
as
Yep.
well. You know, so it's good to see this here as we're gonna go and have a day off. Some actually, yeah. Well, we'll see how it all ends up playing out, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna have Jason and Uneven to wrap things up for us.
And Hyper?
Who?
And Hyper.
Oh,
And
guys
Hyper?
that win every game. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys, yeah.
Okay.
I was actually just trying to speak with my new language where I only say the word and hyper and you knew exactly what I meant. And you pretty much caught on there. I mean, this team is unstoppable. Uneven, taught me through their rotation that they made
Oh
that game.
man, it was complicated. It was elaborate. They were thinking they were thinking 9 circles ahead when they rotated circle 2 and took that compound. It was brilliant. It's chess. I couldn't even, they're seeing things I don't see because
Bro, they're playing chess and everyone else on the lobby is playing checkers.
I mean, yeah, these kinds of blessings, it's important to remember every single team gets them. The reason why you always feel like NHyper, why is NHyper always getting these circles? They're not moving and they're getting these chicken dinners every time. It's because they don't mess up. When they get those circles, when they get those blessings, they utilize it. They squeeze it for all it's got. They get 11 elimination points, 21 total, and they never choke it. And every other team does. So they're not more luckier than anybody else. They're just more consistent. One thing I want to point out.
You want me to give you a little funny bit of information here while we look at this
Go ahead.
match ranking?
Go ahead.
So they finished off this week at 250 points. Second place team, PASSIONFRUIT, 153 points. They almost had a 100-point lead over anyone in the lobby. But keep this in mind, they had 149 elimination points. They were 4 elims short of having more elims than the second place team has total in points.
I mean, that's decent. Yeah, decent.
You know what I have to say to that?
That's my professional analysis is decent. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty
not
decent.
too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
This is what happens when you let them cook, man. This is what happens.
They definitely let him cook a little too long. Wow. I mean, what is there to say? Absolute blowout. The only thing I have to say is I really, really hope it keeps up, and especially keeps up in those, later tournaments that we, at this point, I'm going to say it, we're seeing them. We're going to see them in Americas, and I think pretty sure we're going to see them in PMGC too. At this point, they are looking unbeatable.
Yeah. I mean, the craziest thing is, right, because obviously these phases turn into 2 different things. They turn into bonus points for that phase, and they turn into a general bonus points.
Right.
Actually, if you look at our bonus points going into finals right now, ignoring the 3-week general rankings, they're at 15 points, and YKG are at 13 points. So actually, they don't have as big of a lead as they've been able to build up here in our rankings, but they do have the lead where it matters when we get into that the fourth iteration of bonus points, I should say. Insane stuff by NHyper, and I don't know if there's any team in NA that can compete against them on this kind of level. Their rotations are down, everyone can frag out, everyone's willing to play the not so star-powered role as a fragger. Koi, we're talking about, he's willing to sit back and watch angles just to make sure they can win the match, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to win. They're not trying to play for individual glory. They're playing for the victory of the whole team, and I think it's showing, man.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because that is an absolutely crucial role that doesn't get the love that it deserves. Everybody likes to see those big numbers, big fraggers.
Oh,
but
Paraboy, the best player in the world.
Exactly.
You put Paraboy on a different team,
it's,
I don't think he's gonna play as well.
it is absolutely a team game, and I can't say how like I could go on for hours about how important a good support is and how it builds up a team. And yeah, I mean they've got those roles set down. They've got a clean, from the outside it appears like they have really clean communication, really clean IGLing. Their mechanics obviously are not bad at all. So I mean, again, hard to tell until they progress further, but
yeah, I mean, we
they're
can't
looking
really
good.
criticize them, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
in this lobby, we can't really criticize them, but we have seen some signs of them not being perfect,
Yeah.
which I don't need to necessarily touch on too much now, because maybe they're playing like that because they know they can get away with it. They wouldn't do that necessarily in like
Absolutely,
America's
yeah.
kind of lobby, but who knows? What we do want to know, though, is our MVP of the day. I don't know if you have a prediction. I'm almost thinking it's almost certainly someone from NHyper. I almost want to lean towards Rin, but kindness is kindness.
You know, yeah, guessing
Don't
at these
cheat.
MVPs are always, I'd have to guess an NHyper member too. Could be any of the three.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Who's
Let's
it going to
see.
be? It almost has to be them, right? Just because the amount of work they've done today.
Oh,
It's actually be
man.
24K. Okay.
Switching it up.
3,100 damage. You know what? I have to go check the stats to see how close it was, and more importantly, who was second on damage.
You know, this is fairly common, right? When you have a team as NHyper where you've got 3 or 4 really strong performing members at all times, it's harder, right? You're competing
True.
against some really good teammates to get these stats, to get these eliminations, to get this damage, this survival time. Your teammates are you know, they're trying to get those eliminations too. You know, they're not sitting back and relaxing. And when you're on a bit of a weaker performing team where some of your teammates aren't pulling their weight, perhaps perhaps this is what happened in YKG. Then that one player that is playing really well kind of scoops everything up, right? Gets the whole share of the pizza, the pie.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at eliminations, right, and I see 24K at 13, then you see Rin at 12, you see Killjoy from Wall Street Bets at 11, then you see JK First at 11, then you see Drago from K and Eagles at 11, then you see Kindness at 10,
Right.
and then you see YKG, Super
Exactly,
Reflex
yeah.
YKG. But the damage, I mean, I think that's the really crazy thing is, like, I don't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It takes 8 placings in terms of damage. Like, 24K at 3,100. Joey, the second highest damage dealer in YKG, had 1,500.
Yeah.
So 24K did double the damage of anyone on his team.
Yeah, you know, that as I was saying, it's a fairly common thing, right? It definitely is harder to get that MVP and get those statistics pumped up when you're on that consistent, that well-rounded.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure NHyper said, you know what? 24K have the MVP. We'll take the 100-point lead plus that we have against you for PMGC points. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Not about the individual star power. It's about the team. And we've seen NHyper do just that this entirety of this phase. But honestly, credit to PASSIONFRUIT, man. Like, I know we're talking about NHyper so much, and if we move past that, for them to kind of come out into a second place finish in phase 2 after what they did in phase 1, the turnaround is real for this team. And I'm honestly really happy to see it. And I hope for them that they can continue this into phase 3.
Absolutely. You know, it's very easy to get distracted by NHyper, but these guys are still playing well, and they're still clearly giving it their all. They're not giving up, and
4
that
chicken
is,
dinners, man.
yeah. I mean, that's an indication of a good team, right? They can bounce back from failure. Mental resilience is absolutely crucial for a top performing team, and you know, this may not be their season to get to PMGC, but next year just might be. And there's a lot of time, there's a lot of practice to be done. And
Whoa,
so-
whoa, whoa. You're saying PASSIONFRUIT next year, PMGC.
Hey, you know what? It's a whole year away, and when they're playing like this, and they've got the motivation, they've got the passion. Hey, I mean, listen, those are the keys to success. So you're second place right now, and if you keep performing like it, pretty soon you'll be a competitor to NHyper. You know, I'm calling it next year, 100% PASSIONFRUIT PMGC NA representatives.
And if they don't, he's going to shave his eyebrows.
If they don't, I'll unretire and do it
You'll
myself.
unretire and do it yourself. Damn, man. All right. You heard it here first. 2025 on even coming back potentially, making a super team. You know what? I will. I'll be your sponsor. I'll be like your team. You can play under my name that I'll create for the team, and we'll have a picture of my face on your jersey. It'll be fantastic. I would love to see it. But uneven, man, thanks so much for joining me this week. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I want to give you a chance, say some final words before we end things off.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working with you guys, and thank you for, dealing with my microphone mistakes and everything. And I hope the viewers enjoyed some, a little bit of a deeper analysis. It's my first time, but I had a lot of fun, and I hope I improved a little bit every day, just like PASSIONFRUIT and the rest of these guys should be doing. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the future.
Okay, well, before we do end this out, I gotta remind you guys once again, Monster Energy, our official energy partner here at PMPL. You guys can unleash your beast by picking one up, and I'm sure we'll see the PASSIONFRUIT flavored monster coming out soon as they do a collab, whatever Hot Jukes wanted to say, man. I don't know. Don't pick apart my English. I lived across the world for most of my life now. But that's going to do it here. Remember, next week we are not back, right? We have a week off, but that means we're going to be coming back the week thereafter on Tuesday, I believe, if I can do my things correctly. Tuesday, Wednesday. Yep. So Tuesday, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back for our third and final phase of PMPL North America Fall 2023. And then, of course, finals kicking off there the week after. And not too long after that, we're going to have America, some of the best teams that Americas has to offer before PMGC kicks off over in November. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. But we'll see you in 2 weeks' time here for the continuation of PUBG Mobile Action.
There's no way he can get this. Shot. Oh! He throws the grenade, but Bane comes in.
He does it! He does it! He collides!